Yeah. Meeting the select board in order. Um, Members present. Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Thank you.
and also here and John.
John is here.
Okay, the first order of business, which I always forget, is public comment on non-agenda items. This would include people on Zoom.
Nothing on Zoom land.
Okay. In that case, can I have a motion to open the public tree hearing?
I move that the select board open the public tree hearing.
All in favor? Becky,
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
I thought you were opposed.
Huh? I don't want to do it, but we're here, so I'm not going to do it.
Kathy?
Yes.
And says yes.
And John says
And
yeah.
John says yes. And the trees that we are considering. The first is, oh. But I always forget. Now that we've opened the hearing, is there anything we need to do on the action list?
There are 2 items on.
There are 2 items that are on the agenda.
Mhm.
I'd like to add something to the action list, which is a consideration of the letter from the Open Space and Recreation. We should put that on the agenda for our next meeting. Anything else? Okay, back to trees. The first tree on the list is the tree across from 38 Norwood Avenue, which is a 30-inch sugar maple.
Yeah, this is one that I noticed because I live in the neighborhood. And my concern here was it's over the parking lot in the play area where kids do, and it's on its way out like a lot of the sugar maple trees. Usually when they get this far gone, it's just a matter of time and give us an opportunity to maybe plant some other trees in the situation there. So, sugar maple.
Sir, anyone on the board who has a comment on the sugar maple across from 38 Norwood?
Just that I would defer to Tom.
Is there anyone in the audience on Zoom? Okay. Are we ready to vote on the recommendation that that tree be removed?
So moved.
No, wait, we have.
Do you want to do them
voting
all or?
after the? Yeah, okay,
Technically, you should hold off on voting until
Okay,
you've
fine.
taken all testimony, but
okay,
if you want to treat each.
Let's-
as a
let's-
separate,
let's do it the right way.
Then I will retract my motion.
Thank you. Okay, the next tree is at 28 Norwood, in a 10-inch spruce in the grassy area near the fountain.
My comment on it is it's a healthy tree. It presents the only green foliage in that area in the winter time. Bird activity, sort of. I like it. Most of the neighbors like it. The trees surrounding it certainly need pruning. We have pruned in that area in the past, but the trees have crowded it out a little bit, but that's my position. It's a healthy tree.
Okay.
I would prefer that the tree remains. And we work on the trees that surround it and are crowding it out.
Mhm. Does anyone in the audience or on Zoom?
Yes, if it's a healthy tree, why do anything with it? Like he was saying, it's the only foliage in that area.
I'm
I
sorry,
think
could
you
you
should
state
say
your name and address?
Rachel Rohde, 3 Powder House Lane.
Thank you. Just, we have.
I would vote to keep it. I would like to keep a healthy tree. We need as many trees.
Okay, the next,
I'm sorry, there's a hand up. Sandy has her hand up.
Sandy, please. But
Yeah.
state your, if you don't mind, state your name and address.
Sure, Sandy Rogers, 82 Old Essex Road. I agree, it's a healthy tree. We should be protecting all healthy trees at this point, given we're going to be losing so much in the future. It's a green, evergreen, and yeah, we should be looking at ways that we should be pruning around it. Thanks.
John?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I looked at the tree, Tom. You might want to take off the lower row of branches, which are all dead. They're about 6 feet off the ground, 5.5 to 6 feet. And in pine trees, they tend to be a little shorter and pretty much faded in terms of use.
Exactly.
But other than that, looks good to me.
At 117 School Street, a 30-inch ash. Tom?
Yeah, it's probably 60–70% dead at the top, typical of most of the older ash trees on the streets especially. They're being infested by a pest that eventually they succumb to the emerald ash borer. We've already taken several down. Unfortunately, we may lose all of the ashes in town. Also, it's erupting the sidewalk. I consider this a secondary factor. I'd prefer to save the tree if it was just a nice, healthy tree and do something about the sidewalk. But in this case, my recommendation would be to remove the tree.
Any comments from the board?
I also agree. I've been driving around looking at trees today and you just drive by it, it looks dead. And if Tom says that's the case, I tend to agree.
Anyone here or? The next on the list is 23 Old Neck Road. It's a 36-inch red oak.
The tree has a little top dead wood in it. It's been pruned in the past. A tree like this, to me, I've read the owner's requests and things, and magnificent tree like that certainly doesn't warrant its removal, especially being the species it is. Lots of times we can't tell what's going on in the tree, but it's certainly in no imminent danger of damaging the house or the property. The previous owner, or the previous had some pruning done on it. She paid for it herself to clear the house that was there. It's my understanding that the people who have bought the property intend to raise the house and build a new structure there, but I don't see in any way how this threatens what I've seen of the plan of the new house.
I agree with Tom. I took a look at it today. It looks like a beautiful, healthy tree. The only thing I noticed was that there were power lines running right through the middle of it at a very bad spot, but it looked like a very strong, healthy tree to the.
Well, respectfully, this is Jane Rice, and I'm the owner of 23 Old Neck. And if possible, I was hoping to share my screen with the room as well as with the people online. Mark Sikoria is my arborist, and he had spent some decent amount of time with me with that particular tree. And his concern was not just the dead at the top, but also decay at the ground level. And there's a lot of, I guess, kind of utility trenching repeatedly in that area. He also feels that the plows have hit it pretty consistently. And he feels that it's very hard to tell with the root system and then the construction and the demolition that's going to be happening there, additional damage that's going to happen from the tree. But one of the things that he shared with me, so I'd love to show you pictures of how this tree hangs over this property, if that's.
I think we've all, you've driven by recently, you've driven by recently, I drove by today.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason is that he'd shared with me, I guess, about 2 weeks ago in Peabody, without warning, I guess, and with no wind, a very similar tree, same species, same size, relative size, situated almost identically on the road like this one is, blew over right on top of a house. And there was no windstorm, there was no anything. It's just that the roots kind of gave way. And his concern was absolutely that this house, and the picture I have for you just shows when you're looking at the side of how the tree hangs over, it's well arched over the house. So between the dead stuff at the top, the decay on the roots, which he shared pictures of with me that I was hoping to share, and then the situation and the angles, he feels that it's not safe given what we're doing with construction there and the excavation and the construction that's going to be going on right around and all through that root system. So I was hoping to share a screen if that's possible. If it's not appropriate, that's totally fine too.
Sharing a screen is a slightly complicated procedure.
Okay.
No, no choice.
I'd like to show, let's take a look at it.
Okay. Right, please. Thank you.
To be able to.
I apologize. Was that a question for me?
Yeah, you should be able to share screen.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much. So let me just pull this up here. Can everybody see this? My screen?
It's coming.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you can make it any larger.
Let me, so this is just, I'm giving you an example of the tree that he thought was very similar to the one that is currently in front
So
of.
this is not the
This is
tree?
Not the tree.
No, it'd be
Right.
only because it's situated almost identically, and he thought it would be worthwhile for the committee to see this, which is why he suggested that I share this with you. So you can see that it's right up against the road in a similar fashion with similar decay right here. This was, I think, a week before this tree actually collapsed
Please.
and, landed on the house. So the tree that I want to show you is mine, obviously. Similar position. Here's the decay at the bottom that he wanted to point out, which he's concerned about. And that's just a wider angle of it, and it goes up the tree, and also feels that there are plows that have hit this. And then this is really the picture, I guess, that he also wanted to show, which this is the angle of the tree over exactly where the house is going to be. So all of the land there is going to be under excavation where the roots are. So there's already dead stuff up top. The root or the bottom, he feels, is under decent decay. And then this angle makes it very clear that it's, very much within striking distance if it falls over.
Get Tom's comments on that?
Yes, please.
What she's saying are issues with the tree. I think I would like to see the construction. I'd like to really see what effect the construction, when they do digging and trenching in the area, what they do damage for roots. But at this time, I don't feel what I see being in the business for 50 years. I've only known maybe 5 trees that have ever fallen on houses, and every situation is sort of specific to what's going on. It's sort of hard to tell. I mean, that's why if we want to be 100% safe in our house, because we have a large, huge, basically it comes under our qualification for heritage tree. It doesn't warrant taking it down this time, because I don't see the decline in the tree to that extent, which is anywhere near an imminent situation. Maybe down the road, 5 years from now, if there is extensive rot, you'll notice it very, very gradually in the foliage of the tree. And if we see decline, then we can bring it back. But I certainly wouldn't take a tree down like that, because I want to be 100% sure that it isn't gonna fall on my house. Like I say, 1 or 2, 3 trees, maybe in 55 years of the tree business, have I seen only 1 in this town, a roadside tree, ever fall. But that's why this situation when trees fall on houses or trees, things happen with trees, we know this. But it tends to be over exaggerated in my opinion, and I don't want to feel what I see there, and I think many arborists would agree with me that especially it's the only big oak on that road, really. And they took down probably 30 or 40% of the trees that surrounded the whole backside of the house, many trees. I don't actually know till they dig a foundation to see, but we've had situations in the past where I've gone over and looked and I felt it was okay. But I can never, no one can guarantee. If we have a hurricane, you know.
Becky?
I just want to say, I do know Jane Rice, but that doesn't have any bearing on the hearing. I would be very reluctant to take a heritage tree out, especially one that we do have more time, that has more time seemingly. And to that extent, like in other areas where we've asked for protections for the root system, in other words, not heavy equipment driving over the root systems. And Tom has said in the past that you can remove some of the roots without causing permanent damage. I would actually like to see it preserved if we, and again, stipulate that there be protective measures for the tree.
I'm not sure that's in our purview, but Ms. Rice, could you, if you've shown us what you wanted to, could you stop sharing your screen? Thank you. Yes. Mrs. Moore. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I'd like to suggest, I'd like to see is that during the course, when excavation starts, and construction starts, if the homeowner could be in touch with Tom and have him periodically come out and just check the tree, the root system itself, and see if at any time during construction you feel, okay, now it warrants revisiting this. I think that becomes a little bit more, some safeguards, and I think it's a common sense approach.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be in touch with Tom, and Mark knows Tom well. And, you know, Mark obviously has some pretty strong feelings. Mark Sikoria from Sikoria Tree has some pretty strong feelings about it. And I'm happy to do that. My question, I guess, is this, I'm assuming the liability will be with the town, right? If something like this happens, either because it damages the property or hurts someone, if the whole thing topples over, or if a major branch comes crashing down because it really is not safe or is damaged through the construction. I just want to confirm that.
Greg?
Well, it's not automatic liability for the town, depending on the circumstances. You know, acts of God, in terms of a very strong wind that comes through, that would not be a situation of our liability. But that is something that is typically litigated as well. It's not a clear cut, yes, we have it, or no, we don't.
Or in the short term, is the town willing to top it?
Without putting up your hand.
Oh, I apologize.
This is not a discussion between you and us.
Oh.
So put up your hand and wait to be called on.
Okay.
Mrs. Morse.
Jody Morse, 11 Jersey Lane. So one of the things I would ask in a situation like this, where this is a heritage tree, it is an oak tree, it's a very long-lived tree, it has very deep tap roots. The tree looks to be very healthy. I was wondering whether the homeowner would agree, or maybe they've already done this, whether Chukoria has done a level 3 assessment of this tree, which is generally what you ask for. It's more than looking at the tree, you know, up close. You know, what Tom does, he looks at the crown, he looks at the root system, he looks at, you know, if there's any decay in the trunk and so forth. But a level 3 assessment, I think, would give both the homeowner and the town more information on whether this tree actually is a danger.
Mrs. Rice, I'm sorry I cut you off. Now you may respond to Mrs. Morse.
Hold on one second, I've forgotten how to raise my hand with all these people in here, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not familiar with what that kind of assessment is, and I obviously don't know what the expenses that entails. So at this point, I can't really answer the question. I'm, certainly happy to look at it, but yeah, I'm not familiar with what that kind of assessment is.
Perhaps the Friends of Trees could.
I don't know what a level 3 assessment costs. I don't think if Mark Jacoria is on your property and doing work there, I'm sure that's something he could give you a price to do. And I think it would be a smart thing to do in any event, given the importance of this tree. And
Well, the tree, as I understand it, is on town property, right? I mean, would that be the town's responsibility to do?
I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, if you think at that level.
If Tom and the board feels that would be a prudent step, we could have that done. Okay.
Further comments?
The other question, I have to raise my hand, sorry.
Yep, go ahead, please.
I apologize. The other, I guess, thing is if it right now is not, if it's voted to not take it down, would the town consider maintaining it and getting rid of all of the dead stuff that's on there now and cutting it back in such a way that it's not overhanging the house where the dead branches are?
Is that something?
I certainly think it would warrant some pruning. We could make it safe. The way the situation is sometimes she referred to the town being liable. And I have a tree warden's forester's book that has many cases of situations, and it's when the town fails to do anything to correct measures is when the precedent has sided against the town. And many cases in my manual book, just for examples, and I'm not a legal expert in any manner, but trees are special things. Many things come under, you will see in these cases referred to as acts of God. Like, I know Greg is familiar with it, but I don't see why we couldn't, we could get an estimate to do an evaluation by an independent arborist. My position is that I'm in here for the town to protect and save as many trees as I can. And tree removal specialists and contractors are in the position of something else. Anne knows very well, she saved several large oak trees that are leaning much more on her property, and we all have a feeling towards them, but I'm here to try and advise you how to save as many moderately healthy to fairly healthy trees. There are very few trees in town or any other towns that don't have minor fungal issues on their trunks. Oaks are common to it. Oaks are normally very deep rooted, strong trees. That tree is grown that way because it's reaching for the southerly quadrant. It was obviously crowded by big elm trees that were on the other side of the road. That's why it's sort of out of balance. But we certainly could do things that would improve its condition. And like I said, there's no guarantees. If we have hurricanes, I've been through many hurricanes and seen trees down all over town. Do we want to take all these street trees down that have some minor issues with pruning, a little bit of decay, scars on their trunks? Is very few. And the homeowner is correct in what this issue she's pointed out, but I don't feel they're overexpensive, if I can qualify it that way.
Yes.
We look at it in the spring, see how it leaves out. I'd be willing to go over and watch the construction, and then the contractor could be advised to take as many necessary precautions as they can without running heavy equipment over that side of the tree.
The woman in the red.
Harley took 1 Massanutten Street. I'd like to say I would just like to see the tree preserved because of its age, its history. We've lost a lot of trees, 3 trees to be exact, 3 large trees in our yard, and I would just hate to see another large tree be lost. know, in the neighborhood or in town anywhere.
Thank you. Further comments?
Just that that tree is really special, and I've been walking past that tree every day for like 20 years, and I love that tree, so. I would
You
like
wanna
to see it
ask us,
preserved.
please?
It's 3 Powder House Lane.
I mean, you just
Rachel
have,
Road.
it's for the record.
Yeah, yeah,
but
so
thank you.
Rachel Road, ROTH. Yeah, I just love that tree very much.
Okay. Then I think we've heard evidence on that tree. The next is at an 18-inch locust at 7 Bridge Street.
Yeah, that's a live, healthy locust tree. It did have a few issues in the past with erupting the sidewalk. That was fixed by the town. It's a nice shade tree, young, healthy shade tree, probably been in 30 or 40 years, and I would prefer to see the tree remain. It's extremely healthy, frankly.
So I think the homeowner mentioned that there were vines that were encroaching.
Oh, is this the ash tree or the locust tree?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's
Locust, this is the locust.
We're on the locust.
We're on the locust.
It's a big ash tree that has the vines.
Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, is this the Bridge Street one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
this is the
it
Bridge
does
Street.
have euonymus vines all
Yeah.
twined all around it, which could be, we could cut them off. I'm sure the town, something the town could probably take care of at some point. All I see with them being there is they're obstructing the view down the road, and the view on the sidewalk, maybe a little safety issue there, that the vines are hanging out over the sidewalk in it, but I don't see any evidence of it damaging the wall. It's a locust tree that was commonly planted 30, 40 years throughout town, but very healthy tree.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Josh Anderson from 4 Bennett Street. That's on the other side of Bridge Street, right there. The tree. So, yes, the concerns I had were the vine encroaching onto the fence that I just had to replace, and the tree also encroaches into the sidewalk, and it's adjacent to a utility pole, which, you know, I've seen kids riding by where they have to go onto the street, and that part of Bridge Street's right where the motorcycles crank it up on the way onto Beverly Farms. I know I've seen the town pruning to get the 25-mile-an-hour sign visible sometimes, and maybe just additional pruning is enough. I'm no tree expert. I just know that I've had to pull big limbs off of our and our neighbors' cable wires in the past, because in storms they've fallen down. The root system actually, if you have to maybe look a little closer at the stone wall, the root system has disrupted a bunch of that stone wall, which is the retaining wall holding up my property. So those are the concerns I had. If there's a way to do it without fully removing them, that's fine, but it just, oh, and it's also scraping on the top of our house, which we didn't notice until we finished the renovation, because we couldn't see that part of our house before, and now we can. And it's kind of creepy when it's windy out at night, especially around Halloween.
I assure you, there are no goblins trying to come out of this.
That's not what it felt like.
Comments from the board?
Yeah, I walked by that house today. My notes here were that it looked very healthy, a healthy tree, but it is intruding on the wall foundation and needs to be pruned away from the house. Those are the notes I took when I, so I agree, it definitely needs some pruning. I'm not sure what to do about the wall foundation, how deeply it's penetrated into the wall foundation.
I think we could certainly prioritize the pruning there.
Yeah.
Do some pruning. My feeling is it's the only nice shade tree on that side of the road as you leave town aesthetically. As a little, but there are things we could do to improve its condition. If we see, we can, the homeowner can certainly come back to us. I'll supervise the pruning. If I see structurally damaging the wall, we have a lot of situations like that where trees were planted as young trees and they do eventually reach the wall. But it's one of the prices we have to pay in urban settings to have nice shade trees like we do in Manchester. And, we certainly can move it up on the list as a situation where the homeowner has brought it to our attention, and he has valid concerns. I don't dispute that at all, but I prefer to try to save the tree as long as we can.
Yes,
Skylar Ruddy, 3 Powder House. So what I'm hearing is this tree is more of a monument and the vines are more of the problem. So if it's really a healthy tree, then why disrupt it? Because the walls can be fixed. It can, but the tree can't. So if it's really that great of a tree, then I'd say leave it.
thank you. Yes,
Carly Cook from Mascanoma. I was also piggybacking on what Skylar just said about the vines. If possible, maybe we could start with like removing the problem of the vines, then that would open up, start at the bottom, cut all the, have it, if you really wanted to, you could wait until they all die and then just pull them down easily instead of spending, you know, the time and money to, I mean, it could be either or, but just starting with the vine problem and then evaluating from there would be my recommendation.
sorry. John,
Yeah.
I have been neglecting the board, so,
Okay.
John,
Walk through that. The vines are the problem with being unable to pass on the walkway. I mean, a tree of that size, there aren't any branches 10, 15 feet from the ground. I mean, that's a big tree. So I agree, Tom, your comments, trimming in particular, starting with the vines. I think that'll straighten out a big chunk of the problem. And in fact, maybe the vines go up so far as that's part of the roof problem as well, where the branches are brushing against the roof. The vine may go up that high, but I certainly agree that vines are a big part of that, and then whatever trimming needs to be done, and I think we'll see how it looks.
I mean, we certainly would give his house proper clearance, you know.
Yeah.
Remove, even if it's a major branch, so he doesn't have to worry about that for 15, 20, 25 years. But yeah, I had to cut my way through just to post the sign.
Oh.
Yeah, but you also can be very, very aggressive. But
Nice.
but a lot of people think vines damage trees. Some are saprophytes. They do feed off the tree, but in this particular case, it's just, you know, I've seen them girdle young saplings, but we can make the situation better and I think work with the homeowner on this.
Becky,
I would like to point out that with all the discussion we're having, we are talking about ways to help the tree and help all of us. And I think that's the approach we should be taking with most of our trees is how can we preserve such a valuable resource, but yet not leave potential hazards when we can mitigate those. And I certainly understand, I live in a house surrounded by a lot of big trees, most of which are pines, so. But I just think it's really nice that people are thinking of ways to preserve the trees and try to satisfy as best we're able. And that we have Skylar who came and joined us today and has spoken up. That's great.
Oh, just one other thing I'd ask. Oh, sorry, John Anderson, 4 Bennett Street. Thank you. I just, one other thing to ask is to pay, if you pay close attention in the pruning to the utility wires, because it's pretty wrapped around there as well. Both the ones that go along Bridge Street and the ones that cut through my yard, to my house and to our neighbors' houses. That I feel those, like, I know those wires are risk because I've gone out there and pulled big branches off of them. So, to the extent we can make sure that that's addressed before, that would be terrific.
thank you. Are there any?
Sarah Melish?
Sarah Melish, yes.
Thank you. Sarah Melish, 11 Bennett. I overlook this tree and I've been watching it for a couple of years and there's not a whole lot of leaf cover at the top. And it's really an ugly tree. But, and the other thing is, so I don't think it's in as good a shape as people are saying. And the other thing is I walk along Bridge Street multiple times a day. And despite the fact that residents have complained to the town about trimming back those vines, it doesn't happen. It covers the 20 mile per hour speed limit. And it's very difficult to maneuver on that sidewalk without going on Bridge Street, which is something I wish not to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we've covered that tree. The next one is on Wilmington and Pleasant Street, a 30-inch ash.
Yeah, that's the big ash that I was,
Yeah.
I think you've all seen that, and pretty much aware, and I told you it's unfortunately doomed.
Okay. Further comments on that tree? It's on Wilmington, but the actual property is on Pleasant. Okay.
I see has her hand up.
Yeah.
Or Bruce, I'm not sure if it's.
Oh,
got
I'm
her.
sorry.
Bruce.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Yes, Beth Heisey and Bruce wanted to be here, but he can't be here. We live across the street from that tree. And I'm glad to hear that you're saying that well, hopefully that it will be taken down, because we really feel that it is a hazard. Couple weeks ago, a large branch fell right next to my daughter's car. And it's not this, if 50% of the tree leafed out, then I don't even think it did for this past summer. And it's just been declining for a number of years. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we move to, I'm sorry. That was with regard to the 7. Oh, this is the
30-inch ash.
No, yeah, this is the ash, okay. At 7 Arbella, a 14-inch locust.
Yeah, you can't say too much other than it's an extremely healthy tree, shade tree in the little strip between the sidewalk and the street. It had some sidewalk pictures initially, but there's no evidence of it right now. Like a lot of trees like that around town, very healthy, rapidly growing trees. It needs pruning again. You keep it away from the house, but it's a situation where that type of tree, I could never support removal.
I think the homeowner reported that there was heaving and a tripping hazard.
Tina Stanley from 7 Arbella, and on our community walkway, which is our neighbors and us, you can see the tree root is bringing up the pavement on the walkway, so it's somewhat of a tripping hazard. Is the tree on our property or is it on the town property? Let's work clear on that.
It's probably on their property, but within that zone of the tree policy.
Okay, so it'll be up to us to prune it.
Yes, if it's affecting the walkway that's on your property, whether you prune the tree or do some root pruning and fix the sidewalk, I would try and work with Tom and others about how to mitigate the hazards.
Yeah, and one quick comment on that, that would be more the DPW, because they just did extensive sidewalk there, so the conditions may have changed. There's a whole new sidewalk there, isn't there now?
Yeah.
Right.
This is on their property. It's not the
I
tree
think,
sidewalk.
yeah, okay, the part that's on her property.
Yeah,
she's
I think they
concerned
want
about
to
the
take
roots
advice
on it.
about how to deal with that
Yeah.
Yeah,
on their property.
those
Some of
roots
the
can be removed, but they rarely affect locust trees. They're extremely, vitality of them is very, very great. You can take the root right out, cut it if it's a bad one that's going underneath the new. Is it paving stone walkway or paved walkway or gravel? Yeah, very easy to remove the root, yeah. Won't affect the health of the tree at all.
Yes, sir.
John, yeah, 7 Arbella. What about pruning any of the branches that are hanging over is that up to us? Can we do that?
Certainly, within our limits, we can move it up or that's really the DPW that determines when trees get you to, but like I say, as long as we take some action and don't put it off too long. Once we're notified, if it is chafing on his shingles and wearing his shingles, certainly that's a concern which we should address with pruning.
So you will put that up on the,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think the town would take care of the branches, but I think the private sidewalk would be more your.
Right.
So I think that's sort of the
Cutting the
the
baby in half.
compromise. We take care of the branches, you take care of the sidewalk.
I mean, I'd be willing to go over and show them just
Yeah.
exactly what to do, you know, it shouldn't be much expense at all. I've done it myself. For a huge tree that grows into my driveway and things, but I have a gravelly driveway, but. We can also thin it out a little bit if you want a little more light through there, but
Yeah, it's sort of
I
hanging
wouldn't
over
be
the
concerned
house
about
and
it for another 20, 30 years of whether, you know, we'll encroach on your house that much, but we can make things better for you, certainly, tree wise. And I'll show you what to do with you. And any good landscape guy, knows it has done this in the past when they've actually put patios. I actually had to do it on a large maple tree in my backyard, take out several roots and then put down a stone patio.
um,
And
Jeffrey exactly what has his hands.
go ahead. You
Hello?
unmute.
I think he's unmuted. Yeah,
Hi, this is Jeff McAvoy from 7B Arbella Street.
Mhm.
I just
Yes,
like to
go
make
ahead.
about this particular tree. I know you just said you think 20 years before it's going to encroach on the house. I'd like to remind you that you pruned this tree back from the house twice in the past 4 years. The tree is also a maintenance nightmare, Mayor. It continually drops a great deal of debris all over the sidewalk where they do drop off children for school every day. I have to run a leaf blower, 2-cycle gas leaf blower, for about 2 hours a week just to clean up after this thing. This is spring, this is fall. It's constantly dropping something. The roots are extremely invasive. In addition to lifting up the sidewalk, I had a 30-foot long root coming straight across along the surface of the grass through my garden. The tree is 10 feet away from the house. I think you know that the growing habit of these trees is extremely erratic. It's rapid. It's hanging over the driveway. It's hanging over the house. It's hanging out over the street. It's been pruned a number of times. It's the main branch that heads towards the house is about 2/3 of the entire mass of the tree. So if I cut that back, there's not much left. I mean, this tree, I don't really understand the value of this tree. I would happily plant, a much nicer tree, a more appropriate tree. This is a tree that's not even, I mean, no one's planting these things in Massachusetts anymore. They're not native to the area. And it's considered an invasive tree in many parts of the country. That's all.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone from the board have further comments? Anyone?
Sandy has her hand. up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we've lost a couple trees across the street in the cemetery, so, it's nice to keep that for shade, and I would say, see what can be done and, keep assessing it and stay on top of the pruning and, give it a chance and in a couple years, if it's really getting more invasive, reassess. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further comment. the
I'd
final-
like,
Go ahead,
Yeah, he just put his hand up.
okay. Please, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I understand you lost some Norway maples across the street that are also an invasive tree, but I don't understand how that affects this tree. I mean, who's this shade benefiting? It's in front of my house. It's in front of my neighbor's house. I really don't see why. I don't know. I don't see how trees that were taken down in the cemetery have any bearing on this. The town does nothing to maintain the things that fall from this tree. I mean, does nothing to fix the damage that the roots are causing. And as far as the tree being on our property, I'm not sure that that's entirely true. I think the property line runs through the trunk of the tree. So I mean, if you'd like to do some more to, help out with this thing, I really would appreciate it. But at the same time, I really don't see the benefit of this tree to anyone. Other than it's a nuisance to me and the people that live at my house. I don't see the benefit of this tree to anyone. And if you think that the tree is good for the environment, like I said, I'm running a 2-cycle gas leaf blower to keep up with this thing. This tree is a nuisance.
Thank you. Oh, yes, please.
Skylar Rhodey, 3 Powerhouse Lane. I actually, at my school, my middle school, the track team actually goes to the cemetery. So in the hard months, the trees keep them shaded while water breaks and, so it's helping the community by having younger people running. So keep it shaded.
Thank you. Very. Okay, the last tree, and we are already overdone, is a 10-inch Norway maple with Union Cemetery. The note said it was encroaching on a fence, it's encroaching on a wall.
Just, I agree with the project they have in process. We have a tree that's, not really a benefit to anything here. The other trees that we have planted in the cemetery will do better with it gone. It's gonna create a problem maybe with a new wall, I'm not sure. But it has a fissure in the trunk, and as you can see, it's probably a volunteer that sprouted on its own. That would be my determination. I see no, as long as every tree we take down, we plant something somewhere in town to compensate for what we're losing.
Are there any other, are there any comments from the board on the tree at Union Cemetery? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, I would consider a motion to close the evidentiary portion. Sure.
So move.
Roll call vote, Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John says yes.
Okay, at this point, we will vote individually on the trees. The tree, the 30 sugar maple across from 38 Norwood, which is substantially dead.
Motion to remove?
Second.
Roll call vote, Becky,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
absolutely. Brian, one of those men things.
Just fine.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
I'll say yes again.
Okay. Okay, the next is the 10-inch spruce at 28 Norwood, in the grassy area near the fountain at the Coachfield Field.
Motion to deny the removal.
Second.
Any discussion? Ready for vote? Becky?
Yes.
John?
You out.
Kathy?
I haven't voted
He
yet.
didn't vote. He didn't.
Brian, go ahead, please.
Now I don't think I want to. Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
And I'll say yes again.
Okay. 117, School Street, the 30-inch ash.
Motion to remove.
Second.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Ann says yes. 23 Old Neck Road. And here I think we may want to have a recommendation, some recommendations in addition to just the decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a motion to keep the tree, to request a level 3 assessment quote, which we will review at a future meeting date. And Tom, I think you were also going to trim the tree as it stands now, independent of the assessment, or maybe do you want to wait for the assessment?
Yeah. If we can get the pruning in this winter time, we can do that possibly. We'll see. It still needs pruning.
All right, so the
Really
pruning
care, I
can,
think they've made a request about falling branches there again. We've been informed, so
all right, so
we
the
need to
prune,
do something is, within a few months, I would say.
the pruning will proceed independent of the level 3 assessment. We will, I don't know if you put in for that or you do that,
Yeah,
Greg.
I'll work with DPW and Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to mention construction measures during construction. to protect-
The homeowner's responsibility, keep in touch with Tom and bring him in at appropriate times to take a look.
And if possible, if I may make a friendly amendment. Greg, can we ask that the tree be protected from heavy equipment running over the roots?
But that'd be that construction protection.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me, I don't know how that's possible, where the construction is going to be and where the excavation is going to be. And the plans have been approved by the town. They can
Well,
certainly try,
let's not
obviously,
go
right?
back and forth.
Right.
What we normally do is that when the excavation is done, the exercises, we've had this situation before on Vine Street. We come before they backfill, we take a look, try to avoid if they encounter something that they have to cut or break. What I'm saying is try not to, with a huge backhoe, come too close to the tree and fracture anything. To me, somewhere in that vicinity, it appears that there's a gas line and a water line staked out, so I'm sure they're gonna exercise caution relatively close to it. My concern would be heavy, fully loaded dump trucks passing within 10, 12, 15 feet of the trunk of the tree. That would be a normal, and most contractors have always cooperated with us in development, for instance, in Hickory Hill and other areas of newer developments that have been here for only 50 years. If you speak to the contractor, they're usually very cooperative in trying to help the tree, especially if we let them know that we have concerns about it, and it is a heritage tree.
At the moment, we have a motion, which I'm not sure I could
It has-
see.
I think it has 4 considerations to it. That we keep the tree, that you proceed with a trimming as appropriate in a reasonable amount of time here. I guess you said probably before the winter really sets in, that we conduct a level 3 assessment. The town gets a quote in for a level 3 assessment, at which time we will probably have you come back in, Tom, to take a look at that or get your comment. And that the homeowner be in touch with you when construction kicks in for advice at the appropriate time. And was there anything else?
I think those are the 4.
I just would like Greg to clarify the wording on regarding the construction.
So-
That there, it's, what did you, there was, the term you used, the construction,
Protection.
Oh, construction,
protection,
That-
yeah.
protective measures are taken.
I just want to make sure that wording is in there.
Protective measures taken in.
I've seen them sometimes wrapped with slatting or
Mhm.
rubber tires. Greg knows how well more than me about it, but I'm sure if you've seen the sites, I've seen them over the years many times. They can use protection if they want to, and they're made aware of it.
I'll second that
We
motion.
value the tree.
Ready for a vote? John,
Yes,
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Kathy says yes. Brian says
Yes.
it. And Becky.
It's kind of like matchmaking.
Becky said yes.
Okay, 7 Bridge Street, which is the 18-inch locust with the euonymus problem. Is there a motion?
I move to deny removal and keep the tree. And also request that the town prune the tree away from the house. And clear as many vines as feasible.
Second,
Second,
further discussion. Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John says yes.
Okay, the next is the 30-inch ash.
Motion to remove the tree on the corner of Wilmot and Pleasant.
Second,
Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John says yes.
Okay, the 14-inch locust at 7 Arbella. Is there just discussion before we have a motion? Is there a motion?
Motion to deny.
There's a second.
May I make a friendly amendment to that? Just that, in addition to, not removing the tree, also have, the town, Tom, you can advise them on removing the roots
Yeah.
that are or root that is disturbing the sidewalk, as well as advise on, pruning, or is that something that Greg, you'll go ahead and talk to Chuck about?
I think, like, maybe Sean and I could go over and look at the tree together and come to some, what we need to do, how heavy we need to prune it away, and which roots need to be removed, so it won't further erupt their walkway.
Second. Do you accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
John says yes. And finally, on Union Cemetery, the 10-inch probably volunteer Norway maple. I move that we remove that tree.
Again,
Discussion. Becky,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
John says yes. Thank you, everyone who came for the tree hearing. It's been, I know it's hard when people don't agree with you, but we're trying to do our best, and I hope that your situation will be better when, after we're done.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Close the public hearing.
Oh,
We did.
we closed out, we have it in.
We have it in.
So now we
So
need to close.
technically you closed the hearing.
Thank you. Well done.
That was supposed to be me.
Oh, and good enough.
Okay.
Did we close the?
Let's, you also close, we close the evidentiary portion, which may or may not have closed the whole thing, but let's have a motion to, I make a motion to.
Motion to-
Be here.
Second,
Okay.
Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Sorry, John. We still
Anne
did
says
not-
yes, I forgot.
And I say yes.
Okay,
John can have yours.
okay, the
Unless you get-
next on our agenda is Sean Masterson talking about Parks and Rec. And do we have any questions? Does the board have questions for Sean?
I do.
What a surprise.
Oh, I know, right? First of all, thank you very much for offering up your time and expertise. I get just do you feel you have an idea of what the time commitments are? And that, because I know you've been speaking with was it Cheryl? And just do you have the time to put into it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Thanks for asking. You know, I think one's civic duty is very important to me and my wife. We have 2 little kids, so we don't take extra commitments lately, but we're both really committed to doing our part as citizens of the town. And so she has opted to work with the voting process here in town. And when Olga approached me, I thought quite a bit about whether this was the right opportunity to give back, and I think it is, given my interest in the subject matter and my background. And I think that I can make time for something that's important. I'm sure it will be, more of a commitment than I even anticipate, but I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, I think the answer is yes, I'm ready for it.
Thank you.
Well, I was in attendance during the show. So, and I think you sat through some of the issues that are typical. Bob was there when you were on sense.
Yeah, I think your qualifications are excellent, and thank you very much for stuff.
That's good. Just a couple of questions. You said Olga approached you. In other words, are you interacting with the committee, or how did you connect? Did you just decide to raise your hand, which we all thank you for?
So I have known Olga for some time. When I first moved to Manchester a dozen years ago, I worked with Olga and Eli and a few other folks on Dogs on the Beach. So,
Okay. All right, you've seen all the controversy.
And you still want to get rid of
after surviving
What
Dogs.
side of the beach do you want?
If you know Olga, you probably know what's
Yeah.
But I kept in touch with Olga, and she's asked me a few times about joining committees, and Olga is persistent. But also, I do, to Becky's question, I think my life situation has changed as kids get a little bit older and have a little bit more time. So when she approached me the most recent time, I actually spoke at length with her, and I also spoke with some other folks, like the landscape architect for the Pine Street, about his dealings with the town and Parks and Rec committee. So I sort of diligenced the opportunity and what the committee was about. And, my family and I are huge consumers of everything that Parks and Rec offers, and we benefit greatly. And I've also had a chance to observe some of the challenges, that anybody who has to manage the Parks and Rec mandate faces. And so I wouldn't say I was directly involved with Parks and Rec, but I've sort of been participating and watching and speaking with folks.
Okay, well, thank you very much for volunteering. I mean, one thing that is always a challenge for all the volunteers is your demographic is not particularly well represented, because people in your situation have very complex lives. And usually it's that people, when the kids are gone, et cetera, where they say, hey, I've got a little bit of time to do this. So we really appreciate the fact that you've got a front row seat on feedback in terms of what's happening with a committee such as that, because as you say, you're a consumer. So thanks.
Well, I move that the select board appoint Sean Masterson to the Parks and Rec Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Ready for a vote? John?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Kathy says, Brian?
Yes.
Becky?
Absolutely, and thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bill.
All right.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Thanks. And unless there's anything else, I'm gonna go do bedtime now.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yep.
you would find the rest of this meeting absolutely fascinating.
We'll put you then.
Best report ever coming up.
Yes. The next thing on our schedule, when we're a little late, is the Winthrop Field Committee update.
I'm Mike Chapman, 131 Bridge Street, the chairman of Winthrop Field Committee, and my mentor here, Stu Thorne, who is also our scribe. And we just wanted to give a quick update. It's been a while since we've been before the board. And we are an advisory committee to the board, and we manage the maintenance for Winthrop Field. If you take a look at the finances, we're in pretty healthy shape. And we're very lucky that the Claire Winthrop Charitable Trust gives us $10,000 every year. Our mowing and baling is about 5,000, and then that gives us a little bit of extra when we have to do some other work. So no tax money is spent on Winthrop Field. We're lucky to be able to say that. This last year, we did a pretty good construction project, rehabilitating one of the manholes that had been filled in the 1970s, replacing one of the drain lines. It was probably original, that goes back to 1896 or so. And it solved some of the problems with the excess water in the western side of the field. And I'm happy to go through on the map what the different pieces and parts are, if you'd like the gory details. But if not, if you want to take a look at the map, we'll show you the three main sections that all drain out to Whittier's Cove, behind Tuck Point. The one section by A.J. McGonus's house on the left, from the pond in the center, and then most of our work is being done to the right on the western side of the field.
Oh, it came in today's. It came in today and.
No, that's right.
In that case,
I'd also like to add that we have had some generous support from the Community Preservation Committee for the big steps we had with the grant of work in the field. We have another application in the
and I did bring a little show and tell.
Okay.
So.
That was in the bag.
You know, I got it's empty. I want to make sure that you understand that, but that's the piece of the drain pipe that we took out.
Oh, wow.
So that's from 1896.
Wow.
And when they put these in the ground, there's no ceiling in between them. So water flows through the clay pipe, but also in between the pipes and then out to the drain system. So over 100 years, you can see how all the silt would come in and then that would plug that up. So that's one of our main challenges, is to make sure that we can go in, we can clear those out. And when we can't, or if there's a break, then we have to go in and we've got to dig those up and then replace them. So I don't know if Ann wants to be the holder of the drain pipe, or Greg does.
That's okay.
Chuck's left them over there.
Chuck's okay.
He does have a collection of.
How many feet of that, did you replace the pipe with a pipe very similar in size? Maybe a different material, I assume.
Yeah, this is about 2.5 inches inside diameter.
Yeah.
And the new one is 6 inches.
Oh, that's a lot bigger.
Yeah, so what we did was, when we excavated that drain line, we put down crushed stone first, then geotex tile, then the perforated PVC, more crushed stone, geotex, crushed stone, and then dirt on top of that, and then reseeded it with the meadow mix. So that's a line that should stay running
For another 100 years.
for at least another 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many feet did you put in on it? It's a big field.
It was over 100 feet.
Okay.
And then the next project is going from one of the manholes that runs up towards Jersey Lane. And it's shown in the dotted line on the diagram. And sections of that have fallen in with some sinkholes. And we've had the drain contractor come up, and he gets about 6 feet up and it's blocked. So we think what we're gonna have to do is we'll have to excavate that and then do the same process with the PVC. What we'd like to do, if we can, is put a manhole at the end, so then we have a way to continue to maintain it. The old way of doing this, they just put a pile of rocks at the end, which is what we found when we pulled these up. So no real concept of how to maintain the drain lines.
Great.
So, any questions? I just,
Your report answered all the questions that I had.
It's very comprehensive and helpful. Thank you very much for
Thank
putting that
you.
together.
and just want to say that, anytime anyone wants to come out to the field, we'll take a walk around. We can show you what's going on. Now is a good time. We just did the second rotary cut. Keeps all the heavy woody weeds down, so it's good to walk in. And we're open 365 days a year for people with dogs.
Doesn't get better than that.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
so
Sue.
much.
Thank you.
Did Mike bring any free honey samples? The honey was,
Are you an atheist?
Yes, we have some beehives. It was a tough year, but there may be a little bit extra, so, Chuck, check your mailbox, Chuck.
okay.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, we have the facilities master plan, final report. I'm tempted to suggest that we take the police chief next.
Yeah.
And come back to the facilities plan.
The only problem is that we're ahead of time for that. Is that
Wait, no, it's 7:20, the police chief was supposed.
7:55.
Okay.
We have Chuck and Nate on the Zoom here.
Yes, so that's,
Okay.
they're-
Fine. Okay, sorry, we will go back, we will continue on our original plan, which is discuss the facilities master plan final report.
So if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to Chuck and me to give a brief overview.
Fine.
And basically walking through the summary,
Mhm.
executive summary.
Mhm.
And then and go into the discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess, we were with you guys for the draft probably a month or so ago, so, that we tried to incorporate, the comments that we heard that night, as well as some other kind of, things that we had, kind of roughed in, and we sent that back, sorry. So I guess that's what you guys have before you. We do have the consultants from Tetra Tech here again to answer any, specific questions or give any sort of other overview you might need. I guess I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't see you anymore, so that it's kind of weird all of a sudden. Yeah, so as Chuck was saying, we were there about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we presented the draft. We took your comments, and we hopefully addressed them all, but we're willing to discuss additional comments. I'm going to just ask this because I know it's a small group there. Does anybody want me to go over like a summary of what we talked about last time?
I'd appreciate a Reader's Digest version of what's different.
You got it. Oh, what's different?
That's just me. Other board members may feel differently. If you want to hit the highlights.
We will indulge.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last comment.
Kathy,
You want to
would
hear a
like-
little of both?
No, Kathy would like a Reader's Digest version of the changes.
Okay. Well, then I'll skip to the changes because I don't mean to belabor it, but I think everybody knows the plan, right? That we suggested, and I'm gonna give away the punchline. Nothing substantial has changed from our recommendations in this report. It really was a matter of clarifying a lot of things and addressing your comments. But so some of the things, some of the specific comments were based on basically presenting an executive summary that was very clear and adding tables and graphics that will help illustrate the points that we were making. And like I said, particularly in the executive summary. So you probably have seen that we basically started over from scratch on the executive summary and added a lot of figures and a lot of tables. Some of the other specific comments that were raised, not necessarily by the board, but in general, were that we revised all of the maps and to reflect the Coastal Vulnerability Action Plan, the CVAP plan, which actually took a lot of effort. I think you'll notice that we tried to address the comment about leasing property versus owning property for a municipality. I think we also tackled the issue of what to do with the fire department. You know, after a public safety building is built and the fire department moves out, you know, there are a few things you can do with the fire department when you get to that point. I believe we expanded a lot about the harbor projects and specifically how there are grants available to pay for most, if not all, of the capital costs for those projects. And there's certainly, just on that note, there may be other grants out there. Specifically, I heard recently about a potential grant that's going through the legislators right now for actual public safety buildings. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but I guess Melrose has a big issue with their police and fire departments as well. And there is maybe there's help on the way, but it's something that we will certainly look into as those projects come up. But like I said, most of the changes were editorial, you know, clarifications, addressing your comments, and tidying up the report and making it a little bit more readable. And yeah, like I said, I tip my hand. There are not many huge changes. So if you just want to, we can hear your additional comments and talk them through.
Chris, I'd just like to add 1 second before that is, I think you said it great. And I think the thing that I wanted to make sure the board understands, or how we look at things, DPW, myself and Nate, is that, this will, in my opinion, become more of a living document. So obviously, we know that there are some things on the very short term horizon that we couldn't maybe address within this report. We have to finalize this report. But certainly future iterations where we either update the executive summary or we add addendum because something else has changed, or the assumptions or the cards on the table change, we can update our report accordingly. We've done this before on our wastewater plant, where we were looking at sending flow to Beverly or Gloucester. We also now are looking at, or we had looked at, what it would take to do things within the town. So, just because the scope was one thing when we set out or finish a project doesn't mean that we can't look at it again, on a timely basis, which I think is the intent with any master plan.
Good point, Chuck. Thank you.
I think just another comment is that with this new version, it really starts off with, as Chris indicated, with that flood mapping and the projections of sea level rise and the impacts that that's likely to have on some critical pieces of infrastructure. So that figure of 75% of our more critical facilities are all very prone to flooding. And that has become a major driver, I think, some of these recommendations.
So I have questions.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So I reviewed the report, and I liked it. I think you addressed all of the questions or issues that had come up when we reviewed it a few weeks ago. I did have a couple of questions, and mostly it's the summary. The summary is kind of includes all of the key issues here. I noticed that with regard to the seawall construction in town, you kind of put together both the town hall and the wastewater treatment plant together as one number. I consider a seawall or some sort of protection for the plant probably at a higher level, or it's more critical, because if things go south with that, we're in bigger trouble than if you've got a flooded first floor here. Can you break that out at all, or was that just kind of conveniently done? Or because I'd like to see that number, because I would consider pushing that up as a higher priority.
That is an interesting topic. And to answer your question, yes, it is lumped together as one project, but there were two separate costs developed because the wall going around the town hall will be a little different than the wall that would go around the wastewater treatment plant as far as its height and its depth. And so there are two different numbers. We certainly could break it out if that's what you're concerned with, just showing a table costs for, for the two different.
Would like to know that. Would like to know that. Second, PFAS. In the first report, you had PFAS over a couple of years in terms of cost, and you consolidated into 1 year. Was that, do you know something we don't, or was that a conscious decision? Or maybe Chuck was an influencer on that, or all of the above?
Yeah, I might have to punt on that one.
So really we need, whether it goes into, I guess, year 2 or year 3, we generally have to have all that money up front. So like say for a construction project at the water treatment plant, to award that contract, we need it all, you need to have that money in hand. So when we were looking at it as, a pipeline and a treatment plant project, depending on how, I think we can be flexible in how the years lay out, because really that comes down to how the town wants to attack it and fund it. But whether it's a bond or other methods, we kind of need that money, up front to be able to award contracts. And ideally, if we're going the pipeline route, you're doing, say that's a $10 to $13 million project, and you're commencing, kind of working in tandem, that money is going to be needed to award contracts. So if we wanted to attack it in a different way, where we did a pipeline first, although that is looking not like a viable or a less likely scenario based on some of the life cycle cost analysis we've received back. But it's really how quickly we'd want to phase those projects. And I think the thought was, if we're going that big, we're bonding a project.
So right now you're putting both the pipe and the process at the treatment plant, both kind of in the same bucket going in parallel.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Was with regard to the safety building, was 6 School Street, which is not on the market or anything, it's just a private place, was that part of the previous report, or did that kind of just appear here? Was it? I couldn't remember.
As a property not for sale.
Right. Just
and if I may, just something we might consider is
Sure.
asking the owners for a right of first refusal.
I think that's smart. That's not necessarily within the scope of this, but
Yes.
I think for them, and also for 50 Summer, they should know that we're interested.
Right.
And-
Potentially.
Yes, because these things are still a few years out, and things can happen. And that's correct. And the only other thing, the Maritime Center was on the initial timeline. It's not here. Is that largely because monies aren't necessarily involved in planning for that, one way or the other?
Yeah,
And it's not
that's
necessarily
exactly
something
right.
we need near term. It may not be something we need to do near term anyway, but.
Well, it's not so much something that you don't need to do near term. It's just that it was a smaller project, and and there are designs in the process already for those projects. So we decided to simplify the table and just stick to the large critical projects.
Right.
But it still should, still should be thought about and put on. And I mean, one of the things about the revisions is a lot of those projects can be fully funded by grants. I mean, why not move forward?
Okay.
I'm just trying to, follow. Even at the end of the last time we got together on this, we did go ahead with the design or authorize the design of the maintenance of the Maritime Center.
No, no. Do not believe so.
Okay. Wishful thinking. Yeah.
That's just-
I thought because it was funded, the thought was that
could be fully funded, that we authorize the design of the,
We have talked about one of these before, but we haven't.
oh, okay, so I thought we had done
We
that.
haven't made a definitive. Proceed, yeah.
Just in case I'm off someplace else. What is the Maritime Center?
Harbor Master.
The harbor master with,
So public restrooms. and then
Sounds
harbor
good.
master
Right, right, right.
office.
It seems
what
that
we're
there may
planning
be
to
an
do with the community
alternate
center.
solution to
Correct.
that.
Correct.
This is gonna
except
be
that we
different.
would need a shower.
Well, from what I understand is that as long as there's showers and
Laundry
laundry
facility,
for boaters,
right?
that's how we qualify for,
Yeah.
federal grants.
So just a comment on the grants. There are pros and cons, right? The pros are it's money, our state tax dollars, right? Coming back to the town, that's the pro. The con is that it can lead us to a larger or more expensive facility than we might otherwise build. And I would just ask us to to remember that, because the grants pay for the construction. They don't pay for the ongoing maintenance, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so, yeah, it's nice to get money, okay, but if you're building a much bigger facility, whether it's a marine center or a public safety building or a school, you are often, what I witness is towns building bigger things. And over time, that is increased operational cost. So I just think we can't forget that. As I said it, when we discussed this report a month ago, I said it was one of the best reports I've seen on facilities master plan, good level of detail, really well done and thorough. Some of the feedback I had given, I think, was partially implemented. I asked for a separation of needs and wants, okay? And I did see a table in here, a high level.
Critical mass.
Yeah, so that was a good first step at the facilities level. Here are the facilities issues that, no matter what happens, these are our needs, we've got to do these, and then the other ones were wants. So I think that was a really good first step. What I really want to better understand, and this may get into the more of the design phase rather than the master plan, but it's just a comment that I'll make now, is in each of these upfront sections where you say facilities needs, section 2.0, okay? I believe my comment the last time was not all of these are needs, okay? And they are not. If I just, I'm open to 2.0, 2.1, okay, the DPW. There are excellent things on this list that are, needs, the maintenance garage, the lifts, all that stuff. There are some things in here that are wants. Additional covered indoor vehicle storage needed for pickup trucks and smaller vehicles. Do you have a garage?
No, but this is a.
Well, but
the
hang on, let
difference
me
with
finish my
this-
comment. Let me
Okay.
finish my comment. We walk outside this building and there are a lot of people with single-family homes or live in multifamily homes, and their vehicles don't have garages. So what I'm asking us to remember is how this all looks to the people who have to pay for it. Administrative office space. I think what I mentioned the last time was a growing organization needs more administrative office space. That's typically when you need more. If your organization is not growing, then what is the need for additional office space? So I'm just.
May I interrupt?
Yes,
On
yeah.
on that particular note,
Yes,
currently the DPW office is next door.
yes.
It would be better to have the people running the DPW at the DPW.
Partially, yes.
So it's not necessarily that
completely.
they want more space, but that they want space.
I
in a
understand
different
that.
location.
No, I understand that. And if I could just finish my comment, I do understand that. And like I said, I've done a lot of these, so I do understand that. What I'm getting at though is, Greg, I think I'm looking to you, okay? This isn't Chuck's job to push back on facilities requirements discussions, okay? There's always a healthy tension in any organization when discussing facilities, whether they be new or major renovations, because they're so expensive. So there's usually one belly button in the organization who pushes back and helps really refine what's a want versus a need. And that's not Chuck's job. Other than you, I don't know whose job it is. But I think that's an important piece of the next level of detail as we go through and work out, you know, how much we want to pay for these buildings, et cetera.
Right, I think that is the next iteration.
It's the next
I don't think
iteration.
it's part of this document.
I'm just bringing it up because it's under a section that says needs, and some of these things you could argue are wants. So that's one comment I have. The other comment I have is, it feels like under the recommendation section, it feels like putting the public safety center on Pleasant Street is a done deal. And I don't think it is, because we just had a presentation, you know, not long ago from the affordable housing community, who I believe the town voted at one point that they were open to having affordable housing be there when the DPW moves. So I just feel like we haven't talked about that, and that's not a done deal. So to Chuck's comment about this being a living document, that I do agree with, because I'm a little concerned about how the wording here could be misinterpreted, that we've made this decision, we're gonna take the police and fire and put it on Pleasant Street. Nah, I don't think we've had that discussion yet. So that was my bigger concern around this. But like I said, overall, very well done. But I do think, given the amount of money we're talking about here, the next set of conversations are really, really important.
Can I just give a quick response, Kathy? I think
yeah,
you know,
please.
that all makes a lot of sense, and we're happy to, you know, have those conversations again in the future. I think that, you know, the comment on Pleasant Street, I was actually in the room last time when the housing authority came in. And although, you know, I think they're hopeful that there might be something there, and I'm not opposed to, you know, reconstituting our plan, or again, amending it if needed. I would say that from my perspective, it seems like the housing authority has not done a similar level of effort report, or even a lesser level of effort on sort of available parcels and stuff. And I think I would like to have a conversation with the housing authority at a upcoming one of their meetings or your meetings or something, where, you know, maybe they need to review our plan and look at, you know, where the similarities or, you know, other opportunities that they might have, because I think there were a few, without getting into specifics, that, you know, we had looked at in terms of town facility master plan that maybe were less applicable to, you know, public safety or DPW, but maybe are more applicable to, you know, small plots of housing, which seems to be something that the town obviously wants, but also it seems like the smaller plots are more feasible. So I think that's a thing.
I think it's an excellent suggestion. And my reason for bringing up that particular issue, it is a very high level issue. And, you know, depending on how much acreage is on Pleasant Street, you know, maybe you can do a little bit of both, you know, I mean, maybe the public safety piece can be a little smaller, you can squeeze in some housing. So it just felt a little bit too, like there was a one solution offering instead of, so that was my main concern. I don't want it to be misinterpreted that we've made some final decisions.
Yeah, I mean, so again, and I think you said it, it's hard for us in our role to, incorporate every, nuance. And I think this is kind of some of the nuance that we would need to get to in even your comment, regarding needs and wants with, a specific facility, DPW, or any of the other ones that are mentioned in the report. I think, we will have to get to a preliminary design that, maybe vets out all of those things at a much more detailed level, and then, get to the next stages of design. But I think for the purposes of facility master plan, it's, it's hard to kind of waffle back and forth on this, because if I had done the opposite and said, we don't need any covered storage, then there wouldn't be a report that said you need covered storage, or, whatever.
Agreed.
So it's hard to, kind of thread that needle, but I think we're on the same page there.
I agree, and I just think it's about how we ask the questions. Because once we publish a facilities master plan that says, oh, we think we're gonna do something for $20 million, what's the likelihood of a contractor coming in here and saying they're gonna do it for 15, right? So these documents have repercussions, and I just hope that when we get to that phase of design or bidding, whatever the phases are, we ask them, what can you do for 15? So we get that answer.
So I think the way we handle that typically, and again, I won't get into all the detail, but like we always look at sort of what is the minimum threshold, and then what is, if we have extra money, where do we spend it? And so those are when we do our bidding, and we get there, it's more of a additional things in the bid, additive bids we call them, or alternate bids. So it's, you could get into that level of detail on, pretty much anything, whether or not you do solar panels on the roof, or, a different outbuilding, or, all those sorts of things are kind of on the table when you get to that level. But I don't think we can address each individually in a master plan.
Thank you, Chuck. Becky?
I think it's also very important for us to look at this and not chip away at the little things that are not, or potentially may not, really greatly affect the budget, but can enhance the work environment for the employees or whomever is there. But again, this is not a document that's saying this has to be how it's done. It's more guidance. And
I would add, Becky, I think that's a good point, and something that we did want to mention is that, pretty much everything within this master plan is only helping us serve the town and the residents better. So certainly there's a price and a cost to all of that, but this is not something that we went into lightly. Like, it's not the Chuck Dam, whatever. It's, this is for the town.
well, and the town has been letting us know that they want us to put thought and
into future projects.
Absolutely.
into future projects, especially public safety. I mean, that's a town priority, or seems to be for many of the people.
It'd be nice, I think, in the future, if we could integrate, at least have discussions integrating this with other town priorities. We have a housing problem, we have an affordable housing problem, and we have an elementary school coming up.
Right.
And as we lay out a timeline, I wouldn't expect a facilities report to include an elementary school in another town, but it's a significant issue that's coming up. And I wouldn't expect a facilities plan to solve the question of how do we get to 10% affordable housing.
Right.
But that's something else we've got to do. And so maybe we need to take a step back from it and just integrate more of what the town we're facing.
Integrated into the master plan, right?
That is the
Right.
master plan.
But that's what I'm saying. It's
as
like,
opposed
this is
to-
a new piece, and the master plan hasn't been looked at since before the pandemic, so integrating this new information is how you keep it fresh. That's a good point.
Is there anything?
I would just like to say that we can keep, we're just studying this and studying this and studying this. And we've been studying this for, I've heard 8-10 years now. All right. So we've got to pull the trigger at some point.
Well,
And we know where the first stone is DPW.
There's DPW, there's also the wastewater treatment plant. which is going to be an increasing, but and this plan does address, incremental improvements in the security of the wastewater treatment plant.
So I guess my point is, when do we decide?
Well, what's the next step? Are
Well,
you
what's the-
asking
Yeah, I
what's the
wanna
next
know,
step?
I wanna know. I've been hearing about the DPW site for a couple of years now.
Mhm.
And it seems like we're gonna wait a couple more months at this point, as opposed to saying, let's get started with one study anyway, what's the design? I mean, we know we're at 10 years out,
Mhm.
and we know we're looking at $100 million thereabouts. Okay. Let's do it in phases, and let's get started.
Is there any reason not to move this final draft forward?
I'm sorry, is there any reason?
I'm asking if board members, if there's any reason not to move this final draft forward at this point.
When you say forward, in other words, post it?
Approve the final report.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we approve it with the caveat, it is a living document and not chisel, this is not the commandments we're talking about here. This is a living document and new information comes in and it gets changed.
And the understanding that this is the first step.
Yeah.
We're not even,
Mhm.
well, now we start looking at design, at least for the first phase, which would be.
I think the question is, what is the logistics wise, what's the next step, right? Let's say we approve this final draft, what's the next step?
So it really gets into the capital plan, five plus year capital plan. And which of these recommendations do you want to start funding? And I think the DPW facility is the first one to start funding.
That's the linchpin right there.
It is, you can't do anything without that.
Right, in addition to moving forward on upgrading the sewer plant.
There was a nice chart on the public safety, different towns and what they've paid. I didn't see that for was everyone in there for DPW? Because I didn't remember seeing that.
Just for the safety building.
Unfortunately, there's not as much data out there on the DPWs. They come after police and safety usually.
And again, this is guidance. We can always ask for that information.
I mean, I think to get it in a capital plan, I'm sorry.
Rockport was one of the more recent DPW facilities that might be a good measuring stick. It's being constructed now. If you're looking for comparable DPW facilities or something there and abouts. And honestly, we did use those costs as one of the many gauges in developing the cost for a new DPW facility as well.
You said which town, and I missed it.
Rockport?
It was Rockport, yes.
Yes, okay. Rockport. Yes, yes.
I move the select board approve the final report of the city master plan.
Second,
Discussion. Becky.
Kathy, did you want to make that the friendly amendment that it be noted it is a?
No, that's fine.
Becky.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Two quarterly reviews of the the police chief, because he's been sitting here waiting longer, even though the fire chief has been loitering outside.
Got my memo, I assume?
Yes.
Yes.
As I start writing, I can't stop, so.
We noticed that. We noticed that.
You also got your shopping list.
Yeah, you know. I did print out the budget information. I saw everything included, but I dropped copies of it. I did through 10-14 when I did it last.
Thank you.
So as I put in my memo, the overtime is decreased since FY 23. At this point last year, we were about 88.41% of our OT line item was spent, and with the extra staff that we have on, we're down to 44.66, which is a 43.75 decrease in overtime spending. Overall, in the budget, we're down about maybe about 1.25% from this time last year. I didn't include that in those numbers, but I will next time. So if there's any questions.
Oh, you're thinking about these. Becky, do you have a question?
I do not. It was, actually, I do. What is longevity?
Longevity is extra money for time of service.
Ah, yes, thank you.
Not on the budget.
But.
No,
but
just
this is
general,
the-
yeah.
this- We're,
Covered everything.
Yeah, everything. So, yeah, I went through, I appreciate all the detail. What I wanted to highlight in our conversation with the chief is I really appreciate the external partnerships. I really see those growing. With the law enforcement council and MEMA. Can't do enough of that. It's really awesome. I think that's outstanding. And I guess my question was, is it just you that's interacting with those other folks, or?
Mainly myself and Lieutenant.
Okay. And I know you were working on the succession planning.
Yeah.
This board, and it's still going well.
Mhm.
Excellent. No, it was really well done. Highlights, job was well done.
Did want to bring up the data conversion of the Procore microsystems through the IMC. Regional did tell us that they were going to have state money. However, they're waiting for funding on that. I did budget it for next year just in case. I did talk to Chris Ryan today, and I have to catch up with Greg, but we may have to.
Just a question, you've devoted several paragraphs to this ICS 402 program.
Yeah.
Which is not only for you, it's for us.
For you, yeah.
All right.
Matter of fact, but trying to schedule a class coming up there probably in the middle of the month.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, that's critical. Have there been any, events or incidents in the, well, I don't know, that's 10 or 20 years that you say, hey, something like this would have been helpful?
Not that I can remember, but God forbid we have that.
I know.
Hurricane or something, plane crash or anything like that.
When the water plant was almost collapsed,
Collapsing, that's another
that
one.
came very close to meeting.
Mhm.
That's probably the closest one
Yeah,
we've had.
that's right too.
That was real touch and go for a little while.
It was 2015.
Yeah, 2015 with the big snows, yeah.
Well, it sounds like a worthwhile 3-hour investment.
Yeah.
Is it a tabletop?
No, it's a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
The tabletop would probably follow.
Yeah.
Okay.
After you had that basic training, then we would do a tabletop.
Okay.
And then just the org structure, like what's helpful about those is usually the everybody understanding what the command structure is, right?
Right, exactly.
That-
We talked about.
And
for a long time.
do we have some things that we have to define that we haven't defined yet?
Right.
Okay.
Lieutenant McCoy just had his hand up. Put it down, but it was up.
Go to the bathroom.
No.
Training is going.
Yeah, there was that, and you also had the
Yeah,
Nemlik.
the NEMLEC, yeah. So I just gave it to Debbie today for your next meeting to get the approval so we can join the Northeastern
Mhm.
Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council.
So be careful when you're scheduling around the middle of the month. It's
Yeah.
awfully busy.
December.
I mean,
Any middle of the month?
we're not in.
Well, specifically, there's a town meeting.
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
then
Oh, you
there's-
mean
This
November?
month, yes, you
Yeah.
mean November, okay, yes.
Right, your next, we're thinking about your next meeting on
Okay,
the 20th.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about a course or a PowerPoint.
Oh, we jumped to a different topic, I'm sorry. I jumped to the Nemlik
Yeah.
approval.
Oh, Nemlik, yes,
We can
that,
Right.
but if you're,
That training class, right?
Yeah.
You think it might be possible?
It's possible he didn't get back to us today, but
Okay.
I'm thinking more like January.
Yeah, I think January is probably more
Yeah.
realistic.
This is fine.
Yeah, I
a
understand.
number of places that each of us can be at any one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about December, it was too close to the holiday.
Okay, fine, fine. You said the middle of the month and I,
Yeah.
yes. Just as an aside and having nothing to do with either of these topics, I hear very good things about interactions between citizens and your force. They are polite. People will come to me specifically to say, I did something really dumb. And the officer who stopped me, introduced himself, explained what I had done, and was polite and understanding. And that's the kind of thing that I really like to hear.
We have a very good young group right now.
Yeah.
That's something
Yes.
that
Yep.
I'm very proud of them, the work that they do.
Well, and I personally had a situation where I was out of town and all kinds of alarms and bells were going off and, yeah, and it was, Officer David who responded to my house and I wasn't even in the state, but it was just fire department, police, and, just, it was really nice the way it was handled by the departments, and very reassuring. And anyway, so,
I just want to thank Jake for all his support. It's been a pleasure working.
Yeah.
I've seen the collaboration.
when's the ball game?
Yeah. I was at a hockey game.
Watching.
No, that's a good, really good
Nice.
point. Visibly, the way you guys all work together, it's just very evident that everybody is collaborating really well.
Was at the fire station and there was a nice mix and,
Yeah.
and, exchanges.
I think that, well, police and fire,
Mhm.
small towns should be, looking at this as a standard for how the public safety works together.
You gotta include Bion and Chucky.
Absolutely.
No, no, Chuck. He's not on.
Went away.
No, it's been great.
Anyone?
I just have a question though. What is your plan for this upcoming year? I mean, is there any help you need from us? Because we're going into budget season, all that stuff.
Coming year is one of the big things for next year is we have to do some hostile intruder training.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Jake and I are gonna meet on Wednesday after the chamber and talk about things that we'll talk about. So that was one of the things that we, out of my shift meetings and my command staff meetings, one of the things that is a really hot button item. And we don't train enough, in my opinion, so we have to look for someone that can even help us with that. That's one of my huge goals.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you very much, Chief.
All right, thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
Thank you for the very comprehensive report.
Yep.
Right, Jake.
Follow that one.
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
No.
He's gonna get here early.
Thanks to this guy. He pointed out I called you by the wrong name, so I was very, oh my God. Thank you. Yeah, I know. You've got it. Great.
So everyone got the report that was sent out. So I obviously did October a little bit differently, just I've been doing little snapshots, when you kind of overview of what we've been doing. So far, everything's been going pretty well. Our training regiment has increased, morale has increased overall. I couldn't be happier with where the department was, where it is now. So I think if we keep the same trajectory, we'll be on a good kind of pathway. The concerns, obviously our overtime budget's a little bit of a concern. It started off really low. It was kind of given to us with the budget of my predecessor. We have seen a significant decrease in what our overtime has been in historic levels. It's down, 40-something%. And that trend's going to continue. We just had a graduation firefighter Stevenson on Friday. Firefighter going starts December 10th, I believe it is. And then once he gets back in February, we'll be fully staffed. So vacations aren't triggering overtime, things like that. A lot of that is kind of covered. In the report, I had mentioned that our staffing levels will see a slight adjustment to paternity leave, as well as a medical issue that has been scheduled. But those, I think, most of that we should be able to absorb with our staffing and the staff configurations of people that are out of kind of diverse, so it's not going to affect one group versus another. Other than that, other kind of goals is trying to get our fleet back up to where it is. I will say one thing that is very nice being in a smaller town, the staff takes very good care of the equipment. Going around looking at equipment at the age it is and seeing how well it's been taken care of is kudos to them. Because I can tell you from other places I have been and worked, sometimes that is not the case. So it's really, they really work to extend the life of all these, large capital investments. So that's nice to see. The ladder truck should be here. We should see it. They sent this out to Minnesota in January, so that'll be delightful to do the final eval of it. And then it has to hit the kind of the road, the tour, if you will, and then we'll have it most likely middle of July, August 1st, the latest after it's kind of fitted for us and they take all their kind of demo stuff and take that off. So we're on a good kind of pathway for those as well, barring any significant mechanical issues. We have the company coming in to do the PMs on the trucks. They do it annually. They'll be in the next week or so. And then we also have the Linfield truck on loan, which we should have for a while. So that gives me a little comfort that if we did get a mechanical issue, we have a backup plan, if you will. That's good to know.
Kathy.
First, I wonder why. No, I really appreciate the comprehensive information and reports they've been sending out. It really helpful. And the capital plan that you outlined, the expenditures for the equipment stuff, again, very, very helpful. I really also appreciate your due diligence on trying to get a call course restarted. It just withered on the vine and was left to die or was killed. I don't know which it is, but it's worth a try, and you're demonstrating visible results, and that's very much appreciated.
Yeah, we have interviews starting Thursday. Potentially, we're just solidifying some times, and over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be interviewing 7 candidates, and I'm waiting to hear back from some of the ones that were kind of far out to see if maybe they work closer by, and that wasn't illustrated in their application. So we're trying to vet those as well. So.
That's excellent. No, it's just evidence that in the short time you've been here, you listen really well. The fact that the morale has improved so much, that's also evidence that you listen very well, because you listen to your people, you listen to us, you try to make it all fit together. You're doing great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, great. Appreciated the report, and in particular, as Kathy said, yeah, I'm glad to see this being some progress made with the call firefighters. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but we've got to have some answers so we can kind of figure out what's going on. A couple of things with the budget. If you could, in the next quarter, put in the budget number.
Okay.
You've got percentages there.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's like, 20% of a $300 budget or 20% of a $30,000. That's
Okay.
the only, so if you put in that column, that's fine. And that gives us some perspective of what's going on. The other thing on the emergency responses, I'm always curious how much mutual aid is involved. You've got all of these calls down here.
Yep.
But I don't know how much is mutual aid. How many, I don't know how many calls come in a month that are mutual aid, and that's mutual aid where we're supporting somebody else.
Yep.
Where their support, or actually two teams have to go out. I guess it could be mutual aid, or maybe it's two teams from us that are going. How often do two calls come in at the same time?
Also simultaneous calls.
Simultaneous
Okay.
calls and mutual aid. Both
Yeah.
of those I think are kind of helpful to know how stretched we're kind of getting, or how frequency that things become a stretch.
Yeah, and our new software went online November 1st, so you'll have all the data you could hope for, at least for the first month of
Careful what we
November.
ask
So, that's actually an easy ask. It's
Okay,
easy to
great.
find, so it's not, that's absolutely done.
Good, thank you. Otherwise, great. I think everything's going along well. I did drop by the firehouse. I think it was Friday. They said, yeah, you were offered a graduation.
Yeah.
So you're getting someone back.
Yes.
So
your first shift is
you're
today.
you're all smiles.
Yeah.
Although you're gonna lose somebody, I guess, in January then for going to school.
Yeah, December 10th. until
Oh,
February.
December.
Yeah. So, he has a week of Christmas off, so he gets back on shift, so that actually helps us staffing wise over the holidays.
Good.
With this vacation stuff.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's, the reports we get are so easy to follow, and I feel as if I know what's going on. I also like your, the calendar you did with the apparatus, the various pieces of equipment. And I wanted to ask you, when you say restore fire safety education in the schools and for the elderly, how would you do that, and how soon do you think you would be able to do that?
So we had, previous years, prior to COVID, we had a safe, not safer, but safe grant to provide education in schools and to the elderly. And with COVID, that has kind of went by the wayside. I don't think the grant was applied for the last year. We'll apply for it this year, and that's basically a guaranteed grant. Once we have that, then we can set up working with the school systems, which with their curriculum, it's very hard for them to carve out some time for us. But my hope is at least to get into the, younger years, the kindergartners through, 4th, 5th grade, as well as doing things at like Newport Park, working with council meetings, some of those things, to reduce, risk in the elderly.
Wonderful.
So I'm
That's
hoping that
great.
would be a July timeframe by the time budget should come out, grant should come out in January, we get awarded in May, maybe for the next school year. And then we can start the eligibility in that. Scheduling issues.
Thank you.
Any other comments here or there?
I just want to say that this has been a lot more pleasurable in the past. These quarterly reviews. Thank you.
Anything else you guys, I could do better, or?
Last question, last question for you that I asked the chief. Your key goals, you kind of outlined those here in your report, what you're focusing on. Is there anything in particular?
So I think, I'm very big on training, so trying to increase training, and like, I echo what, Chief Fitzgerald said. The partnership between us, between Bion and being on the boat, the police and fire, we've been working very closely with the schools on active shooter events and planning both with us and with Essex, because an event like that would be a multi-tier approach. So we are already in planning stages, and we're hoping to do some type of drill in one of the vacations, either February or April, do a multi-agency drill to kind of practice that.
Thank you very much.
So I'm sorry, did you want to talk any more about the utility vehicle as part of the town meeting? So you put on hold your recommendation.
Well, I thought we were supposed to hear from the finance committee.
So they're going to be meeting on Wednesday.
Oh, it's on Wednesday.
So if you want to wait for that, which is fine, you just have to make your decision right before the town meeting.
And I would like to know what information I would need, since I am the person who would.
Do the short straw.
Yeah.
That's what you get for not being here.
No, I'm No, I was here.
You weren't here.
I had my hand up for that one. I voted on
I
it too.
apologize. All right.
You should.
No, yeah, so the finance committee will make a final decision on Wednesday night.
Okay. I mean, just think with the overtime being a little higher than we thought, you know, is this something we have to do right now? I just, they're there to advise us on financial matters and I don't like to get out in front of them. but-
So I can add kind of two tidbits, if you don't mind. One is, we did get, we were able to secure $50,000 for our old ladder truck as a trade-in, which we thought we were gonna get. zero.
Oh,
Nice.
big number.
Yeah, well, it's better than zero.
Absolutely.
That is good.
Compared to 1.4 that we had to buy a new one. for.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
the second part is the kind of the benefit to the town. I don't think it's been articulated as maybe as clear as it could be. Is what bothers me is 80% or a little less than that of our calls are medical related. And when mutual aid calls us, when a town around us calls us, specifically one in Essex where we do the majority, or I'd say the majority of our mutual aid assistance that we give, we're sending our only transporting ambulance to those towns. We don't have one in town. So doesn't mean it won't go out of town, so somebody could call for our ambulance, if, you know, the kind of dominoes fall into place. But I kind of get worried when we don't have a transporting asset. And this will at least give us, it won't fix the problem entirely, but will give us a Band-Aid until we can get it fixed. So I really think the safety of the citizens will be improved by the added.
I would also voice the fact that it gives more, that vehicle probably out a little bit more visibility. As far as, again, if we're looking for community policing and community public safety. So all it is to tool that thing around.
Well, that's the other part of it too. Right now, we're at a 3-man shift and our ambulance is tied up. One person's taking the fire truck out, which we're trying to extend the life of the pumps as long as we can. And by that going out on the medicals with one person, wear and tear, not to mention the likelihood of, or probability of, you know, backing into something if you're by yourself, something like that. So that's the other added part of it. I don't lose as much sleep over that as I do the safety component.
How much is the,
64.
so you got it covered with.
From unused funds though, right? So
Yeah.
you already, I mean,
But you're saying we got another 50 that we
Yeah.
didn't plan on getting.
So a lot of trucks should come under the 1.4, you know, all seven, everything's.
We need to wait for finance. Do you want to wait for finance?
I think it probably makes sense to have a short pre-town meeting.
Sarah Melish has her hand up.
Yes. Sarah? Sarah, if you're,
She's in the tree.
Sorry, unmuted. So the finance committee was holding their decision based on the fire chief's long-term plan for vehicle equipment, which we have received. And so we will be reviewing that on Wednesday night and making a determination.
Thank you.
thank you, but
Doesn't interest.
doesn't
You know that.
uncomplicate our schedule.
No,
We,
So
Other
here's the,
committees have-
the risk is that if we approve it and the finance committee, after their review,
doesn't,
don't, then we have a disagreement. Is it
That's not a
necessary?
problem,
I mean, I don't know.
I'm
That's okay.
fine. I'm not looking at the finances at this point. That's what they do. I'm looking at the overall health and welfare of the town, safety wise. And from that perspective, I'm willing to make this.
well, are you willing to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve or accept whatever I'm supposed to do. Now, I forgot. I don't know what I was.
my question, right now, how does it stand, Greg? What is our statement in the warrant?
Yeah, Article
You'll
6.
make your recommendation at the town meeting.
Okay, and we have other articles that are also in that situation, correct? Article 13?
Yes.
So we can do it all the same.
That's the point I'm making. In other words, we've got to make a couple of decisions down the road anyway.
I can live with it. we have to show up early anyway.
Or we can make one now and have one fewer to have to make later.
I really don't want to complicate things. I'm gonna go back to it. I make a motion.
You did, and I seconded
Okay.
it.
This is your
Article 6.
Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize the purchase of a new sport utility vehicle for the fire department for a cost of $64,000, and to fund this purchase from unused funds in the appropriation for the fire department's new ladder truck as approved at the June 2023 special town meeting, or take any other action relative thereto.
Yes, the town.
Is there a second?
I seconded.
I
He
made a
moved it.
motion.
You made a
I moved
motion,
it.
she seconded. You both are recommending that we approve.
Yes.
Ready for the vote?
Sure.
John?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Abstain.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
So we will stand up for your SUV.
And I'm gonna go to Wednesday to chat with.
I think you need to. I mean, Becky feels very confident and this is her article.
I do feel very.
So the story you tell will, it can be
compelling. You can do
lots of
it.
different directions.
You can do it.
I don't have much to tell.
So
I mean,
Sarah has her hand up again.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I think that the finance committee wants to review the long-term schedule for the equipment replacements.
Mhm.
And we would prefer not to have a contest on the town meeting floor. We would prefer to be able to vote on Wednesday and have you support us or not, but to vote in advance of us, it is problematic.
I think we just did.
Yeah.
It's done.
I know, I'm just saying, it's
Yeah.
your choice.
Mhm.
I don't see, well,
We're done. I mean.
I don't
on to
think
the
it's a
next one.
problem. We don't always lockstep, and that's.
No, but they have a role to play, and I just feel like we got in front of
Well,
them
they
a
can
little
still
bit, so.
play that financial role.
No, but I mean, you gotta give them a shot. I mean, meeting schedules are tough, and I get that.
Hey.
I think we've wandered off your quarterly review pretty far.
We did.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Yep.
It's 8:45. We have been sitting down for a long time. I would like to stand up and have a glass of water.
Okay. 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
5 minutes.
All right. It's next year.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't want the video. That's pushed video.
Oh, they,
Yeah, she did something.
So they did,
No, they haven't.
they do have, okay.
Greg, you in particular should.
That was too loud.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yay. That's so good. I told my daughter, I can't play this during the meeting. Well, I think I can. Bravo. No, there you go. That may be.
what is going on over there?
Don't mind us.
Taking a walk.
So what? I'll let you walk through that. Yeah. Community center update, special town meeting, liaison updates, and consent agenda. ETA's report. 25 is supposed to. 20 is behind.
That's not bad.
We're good.
That's not bad. Yeah, we're good.
No. No.
Out of here. Got it, it's done.
That's right. It's bedtime. That's my bedtime.
Done,
Well,
the
do you
first
need
day
a
of-
cup?
It's fine.
Cause I've just been using the straw, but I have this.
That's fine.
I have not had anything out of here. If you'd like to drink out of it, I'll put it in my dishwasher at home.
Okay. The next item is the community center update.
Sure, so I just thought it might be helpful just to quickly recap how we've gotten to where we are to this stage. So obviously the Manchester Community Center being a private nonprofit, they had their own lease agreement with Harbor's Point. And that lease agreement in recent years turned to a month-to-month lease. And in that lease, it specified that if the lease was going to be terminated, then the nonprofit had to decide whether or not they were going to move the building at their expense or leave it. And if they were to leave it, then it would be under the ownership of the Harbor's Point, the association. So the lease has been terminated, and the MCC, I believe, is not in a position to move the building. So the default will be that they don't have a lease and they don't have a building. That's nothing to do with the town. That was their pre-arrived agreements between the parties. So the town was invited to enter into discussion to see if we wanted to use the building, assuming that it was going to fall into the hands of the to Harbor's Point. And so we've been talking to Harbor's Point, and they have indeed offered a multi-year lease where we would assume the lease for the building and the land underneath it, and that we could in turn use it as we see fit. Their stated purpose to us was they wanted to see the building used more intensively. So we have discussed having it serve as a public restroom for the downtown area. Possibility of having the harbor master have an office in the building as well, being closer to the Reed Park floats and where the harbor master boats are kept. Quicker access to the harbor in case of emergency. In addition to more meetings that could take place there, et cetera. So that would be new uses beyond what it has today, in addition to continuing most of the uses that the community center currently is operating under there. So it would we could partner with the community center to keep their functions going, as well as expand to some of these new town uses. So that's the premise under which we have been trying to create a win-win situation for both the community center and for the town, and for Harbor Point as far as that's concerned, in terms of their desire to see more activity and more use of the building. So tonight, what I have before you is a proposed memorandum of understanding, both with MCC, the Manchester Community Center, committing in writing your desire to partner with them if we are able to secure the lease. And I think it outlines some of the question marks, I guess, that the MCC had in their minds. And in addition, there is a memorandum of understanding that we hope to be able to have signed before next Monday's town meeting with Harbor's Point, indicating again, not just a verbal, but a written commitment to move forward with a long-term lease. So I'm hopeful that you find those memorandums of understanding consistent with what you've been thinking, and that accurately outline your position and what you're comfortable with, and that it would be helpful to have those signed in order to let the voters know that we have these agreements and that we would base the next steps on those agreements. So that's where we are. Like I say, I remain optimistic with Harbor's Point and their commitment to moving forward with the long-term lease. And I think with that in hand, we can accommodate the needs of the community center without too much loss of activity.
Thank you. We would sublease to the Manchester Community Center entity, the nonprofit. How would that look in terms of, and I know it said come up with a schedule that's works for both. How would we charge the Manchester Community Center organization? Will it be prorated based on their use and our use?
Right, so we would come up with an agreement about sort of percentage of time of use. And then share the cost of that based on that percentage of use.
And how many actual, it's been a long time since I've been there, how many actual rooms are upstairs? In the upstairs area?
So there's one main functioning room upstairs.
Yeah.
There's a loft area in the back
Yeah.
end. And then there's the downstairs office, small office, kitchen area, and the restrooms.
And restrooms. Oh, I had another question. And Harbor's Point is amenable to our subletting?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a really nice option that has been arrived at to keep the Manchester Community Center organization able to use a facility in town. I'm one of my biggest concerns is that I think there are a lot of people who do not understand that they are not a town entity. And at the planning board meeting last Monday night, they even made comment that this came out of left field when various members from the organization have been talking to other town offices to try to determine if there's land available. So I'm concerned that they are not understanding how much the town is really trying to help here. And I'm not sure how we can get that information out, that this is the win deal for the community, for Manchester Community Center. Without this, They disappear at the end of this month. They're gone.
This is the only short-term option.
This is the only short-term option, because once that building belongs to, or turns over to Harbor's Point, there's nothing that says they have to even keep the building there. I mean, it's,
Well, technically, the lease has ended.
right.
Yeah.
It's already, so they're,
But they have time to move the building till
They
the
have
end of
10
the.
days to
Yeah.
indicate whether or not they are going to move forward.
Yeah.
So from November 12th to November 22nd, they can then, they can advise Harbor's Point that they are going to move it, then they have 90 days to actually move the building. So they have basically 2 weeks from whatever to make that determination. Whether or not the question and one of the problems becomes is whether or not to actually vacate. Okay, and that's, I mean, that's just typical of any kind of tenant, so.
So are the things proceeding like normal right now? They're on a normal November.
running their programs.
Yeah, they're running their programs.
There are programs that have, sought and found other locations.
Oh, some have.
Some
decided
have
to
done
move.
that already.
Okay.
The Legion has been approached, but they can't commit to like every Sunday for AA meetings or something like that. Because they have paying events as well.
So I thought the MOUs looked good. I did have one question though. So this got me thinking, all of your direct reports, with the exception of the fire chief, are currently in this building? Or is there somebody else who's not? Am I missing somebody?
Library.
I'm sorry, library. Okay, the library. Pretty close
Concom.
by.
Concom's next door.
Oh, all right, Seaside. So this campus here.
Campus.
Okay. Having another direct report, like so with the facilities master plan we discussed earlier, with this here, your leadership team is sprawling. That changes how the team works together. And today, where somebody might walk down the hall and talk to Chuck, and that all goes away. It'll go away slowly, but it will go away and it'll change how your team works. When that happens, typically you need to rely more on technology to communicate. So I just ask you to think about that. I don't know how well this particular building is outfitted with the type of network access that Bion might need to connect into the town system, you know, so there's a lot of implications when you start having your direct reports in other locations that I haven't heard we've talked through. And happy to meet with you offline on that, but big implications, and we don't have budget to support. Okay, so just putting that back up.
So,
John.
okay, yeah. So these documents, we're looking at them today. And based upon the conversation today, you will then share them with the appropriate folks and say, this is kind of a memorandum of understanding draft. What do you guys think?
So I've already shared the draft.
You shared it with them. So,
Yeah.
and have you've got some comment back or?
Not to date, no.
Okay, all right.
So
All right, so the lease that is going to be signed, that we would sign with Harbor's Point, we don't know what the value of that lease is. That's obviously a negotiating issue.
we don't have that price nailed down.
And we have no idea. I mean, I guess we know what the lease arrangement was with the community center,
Right, yes, we do.
which was a very low number. I don't,
And-
or
and
if it
we've
was
been-
any number.
Yes, we've been told that it would be similar to this.
Well below market value.
Okay, all right. They realized that they have become a taxable entity. Harbor's Point when they take possession of this building.
That's true. The building
Becomes taxable.
becomes taxable, yes.
You think they are putting that into their thinking?
Yeah, I haven't had We haven't had that.
They would
Has the
much rather.
assessor taken a look at it?
No, that has been broached, that has been discussed briefly. And the desire at some point in the future, at some point, would be to come up with a nonprofit.
Well, the building would largely be occupied or used by a nonprofit. I don't know if that's between the assessor, that might be another discussion.
Okay, but a new lake,
It's owned by.
so, I mean, that's just a matter of, that's where you come in. But the discussion has come up as to that Harvest Point would much prefer, but it's not prerequisite to have it, would have preferred to have it as a nonprofit.
Oh, well, it would simplify it, let's just take one more variable out of the picture,
Right.
which you would like to see.
Yes,
But at this
Okay,
point,
so-
the long-term race, you have a better chance.
Well, I think, yeah, you might need to know kind of how that's fitting together. It's until December 15th. No question, that's gonna be a question.
I think that's an excellent point, and to whatever information you can get before the town meeting. would-
This
would be-
information will get out there and people
Yeah,
will be
would be
asked.
really.
They're
really
asking us now.
Excellent point.
Mhm. And Rosemary Costello has her hand up.
how about them?
Mhm.
Yes.
Hi, Rosemary Costello, 12 Bennett Street. Just curious if there was the lease to own option discussed.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. My sense is that that's not something they want to entertain, but doesn't say we can't ask the question.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Imagine the unmet then becomes more expensive.
Mhm.
uh,
Do you want to own it though? I mean,
I'm not sure that the town is
interested in.
interested in owning that.
Right,
So you benefit more to get the tax money.
because that would be a bit of a different ballgame, wouldn't it?
I don't think there's any appetite for that.
Okay. Another question, 10 years, is that our number, Harvest Point number, whose number?
So 10 years is typically the maximum that a municipality can do unless you have
Oh,
special authorization to do so. So it will be 10 years, but it could be renewed.
okay, fine, I just don't know where the 10 came from.
Yes, are there other questions about,
Gates has a question.
oh, Mr. Gates, yes, please.
Tim Gates, 2 Desmond Avenue. Is there any move afoot to discuss this article about the lease together with the article about the taking by eminent domain?
In the warrant as it stands, the lease comes up first. And I suspect that if the article asking for permission to lease the property passes, we will need to pass over the eminent domain.
They've agreed to pass it over.
We have not agreed to anything yet.
Is there any move afoot to combine the discussion of the two versions? Lease or eminent domain?
They're very separate, and the eminent domain, I think, that is not a quick solution nor an inexpensive one. And I think right now Harbor's Point is trying to work very cooperatively with the town in our effort to try to help the Manchester Community Center organization.
I think from a purely practical standpoint, I don't know how long the whole process of eminent domain takes, but I can envision where the community center would become obsolete
Closed down a long time.
Right, because if you're talking 6 months, a year, 2 years, all these, the events, they'll find new homes, all right? I know that they've already approached some, and there is discussions of where else they would go. They don't, that these groups, the Mothers Club can meet, they can go to the library, okay? There's churches for the AA and Overeaters Anonymous. Okay, there are other avenues that these groups, it'd be an inconvenience for them, but they're not gonna just wait for the community center to work its way through.
Additionally, you have to actually, don't you have to prove that there are no other via options? And that is simply not the case. There are other options.
These groups will find other options.
Well, the groups will, but as will the whole idea of using eminent domain. That is not the only resort we have, and because there are other options, that would essentially make it a non-starter. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we would be successful in a taking proceeding.
Did you succeed in speaking with their lawyer? The Manchester Community Center lawyer?
Who?
We have not. connected. Yeah. Yeah, keep trying.
May I ask a question?
Name and
wonder-
address.
Name
and
I'm sorry.
address. Yeah.
They were in school. I wonder, I know that some time ago it was discussed about maybe the town moving some of their offices from here, like the harbor master, who was unfortunately in a cave, in my opinion. He's the only one who is working for the water. He cannot even see with a window in the water. And also the Parks and Recreation Department, and also bathrooms they were talking about providing there, and information center. A lot of other towns have those. So why won't the town even buy that land so we can have an end with it?
It's not for sale.
Oh, they're not selling the
No.
property under it?
No.
The condominium? But recently, because we live in town and we're not in any board member position ourselves, but just citizens in this town and residents, a lot of people share information with us and opinions. And they said, some of them are boycotting going to the pharmacy, or even people who want to go to the therapy of the condos there, they're not going because of that.
That to me is the problem with social media.
Yep.
There's a lot of there's a lot of misinformation out there.
No, I mean, they told me themselves they were not going.
And because that's based on misinformation, their decisions and their decisions, and they're welcome to it. But I believe that misinformation has led them down that path.
Yes.
Yeah.
A slightly different, but definitely related subject is the creation of a pedestrian crossing from the Harbor Point property to Reed Park. And then creating new parking spaces between Tappan Street and the beach. I believe I might be speaking out of turn, but a conversation with George Smith some years ago indicated that he had an arrangement with the town that the town in the summer could use his lower lawn area as an overflow parking for Singing Beach, on the proviso that there be no parking on Beach Street whatsoever from Tappan Street to the beach. And
We
don't
never
know what
found
kind of
anything.
that was, if it still holds, but if that still holds, those two parking spaces he was talking about
That
in that relation was not be feasible.
That didn't, Greg, we never found anything to
wrong
support
agenda item.
that.
Chair?
We're,
Lots of.
Yeah, we're getting off piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange.
that is on,
It's an article.
it's an article, we will come to it. Right now, I think Kathy's right, we're talking about the community center, and agreeing that memorandum of understanding in substantially the same form that's been presented would be acceptable to us. There's one between the town and Harbors Point, and one between the town and Manchester Community Center.
Do you need a formal motion to approve them right now or after?
That would be helpful.
Okay, I move to approve both MOUs.
Drafts.
Yes, both MOUs as presented.
Do we have,
You were supposed to do that.
I know, I thought we only have one in front of us right now.
There was one with the
I
Harbors
see.
Point, and then the other one was with
Essentially
the
the same
community
one.
center,
They're very similar.
very similar.
Okay.
Two.
Second.
Move in a second.
Second.
Yep.
John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Okay. So that gives us more information to support the warrant article, for a lease.
Assuming they get signed.
No, the MOUs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Is there anything further to discuss about the community center at this point? Okay. That being said, now we do the review of articles. And Article 1 is moving the town meeting.
that's me.
And I think tomorrow night, would you be willing to answer questions about that?
Sure.
Great. Is there anything that you have any doubt about?
No, I don't think so. I know the purpose of the move. And in fact, I kind of drafted a comment on that just to make sure that the bases are touched, but there are not lots of bases for that one.
Okay.
So I think we're okay with that.
Okay, Article 2 is the enhanced security of computer network, which Kathy is moving. Will you be here? No, you will be remote if you can get here.
I will be probably remote for the first part of the meeting, and then I will get here eventually.
Okay. I think we can safely divert, delay
Okay.
discussion of that article
Okay.
until you get here.
Okay, I will.
And the next one is, $80,000 for, an operational review of the school district, which again is John's.
That's me, and so I guess I need a little bit of guidance. What is the number we're gonna put in there? We're gonna put in 80,000?
80,000 is the upper limit.
Should we use language to that effect?
So you can't.
Because I know you've said that
can in a
your
motion.
number's gotta be your number,
That
so.
number has to be a motion. You can't say up to in a motion.
So we don't have to spend the 80.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, should we quote some sort of a number with regard to what the consulting cost is going to be in total?
So the original estimates were from 75,000 to 120,000.
Is that a number we can use?
Yes,
75 to 100?
120.
Under 120.
If it's 120, then
That's
that's
the
why
80.
we're at the 80.
Okay, all right. That's it.
But there are a couple of other quotes that came in under 100, so.
Okay, all right, so that's in the ballpark. But if you use the 75 to 100, people can do the math and understand why the 80 is.
Right. Do you think you need to know something about the statement of work, what this review is, what's supposed to produce?
We do have a draft of that. That'd be helpful.
Yes, okay. Do we have a draft of that now? Okay, yeah, that's, the school committee got that. Who was it, Benedict? was his name?
Ben,
Ben something or other.
The finance
he's
chair.
Chair of the Ethics Finance
Yes.
Committee,
Yes.
and he sent out a draft, which I asked him to send it to me, and he did, and he sent it to Greg as well. Could you
Okay, I need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said it was not, it needed some fleshing out. And, you might, his email will be on that. So you might want to contact him to make sure that you have the answers.
Okay, all right, so I can do that first thing tomorrow.
I'll forward that to you.
Do that, but I'll probably get in touch with him. All right,
Reverting to Kathy for a moment, if someone asks you, well, what exactly are the security measures that we're paying for?
Yeah, I know, I probably could use a little more detail on that. I know it's the pen testing is included, and some enhancements based on the recent breach in that, at the town of Middleton.
Middleton, yes.
It was in the cricket. So, but if you want to send a few specifics, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, okay. Article 4, is a planning board article. And I had asked Ron if he had someone who would speak to it, and I haven't heard back.
Yeah, we expect him or Sarah to speak to you.
yes.
Okay. Um. Should somebody? I'll,
Alan will make sure. But that's
no,
not
no,
down.
this is
For
for tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. In other words, would they be on Zoom or something or here?
Yeah, I'm meeting with Ron virtually tomorrow morning, so I can.
Yeah, it just, it would be,
Yeah. Confirm with him.
because it would be much better to have them explain what they intend to do rather than us making up stuff. Me making up stuff, to be specific. Okay. On the 960, Article 5, which is $916. The important information there is that it is for previous years and therefore has to be a 90% vote of meeting, and that we're not saying exactly who it's paid to, because it was for parking tickets that were improperly adjudicated. And I think so. I will take that one. Okay, and Article 6 is the SUV for the fire department. Becky?
I've got some information on that, and I believe Jake is still on the meeting. And if they need more information than I have, I'm wondering if Jake would be there tomorrow night.
Yeah. As long as they don't have a conflict, but sure.
Okay, I don't see him.
Sure. If he could do that, certainly.
Yeah.
And if it would be important for him to have a specific time frame, where he needs to be present, we can move these things around for his convenience.
Do you want me to reach out to him tomorrow, Greg, or is that something you do? What would you prefer?
Makes no difference.
I'll
If you want to touch base with them anyways.
touch base. I'll do that.
Just a suggestion, you don't call him Jason.
I know. I did that once. I don't think I will ever do that again. Poor man, he was so good about it. Anyway,
Calling people by the wrong names is.
it happens.
It certainly does.
And and John, no.
Brian.
I've got him married or whatever. Okay.
Okay. Number 7 is moving funds around to pay consultants rather than salaries.
Right, and is this
Kathy?
because of the sharing arrangement on the Conservation Commission
Correct.
agent? And the fact that Betsy left and we're substituting.
Right, so we're-
contracted work. Okay, got it, yep.
The new interim services, we're relying on contracted.
Okay,
rather than
yes, I
hiring
can speak
an
to that.
interim person.
Um, The Article 8 is for a lease agreement.
Got that info, Brian?
I'm just gonna basically summarize what was in Greg's report, in your
Actually
package.
spells it out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, between what I wrote tonight
Yeah.
and.
I think what, I think, and, yeah, I think it's a good consensus.
The questions are likely to be. No, the community center had an asset which was valued at $400,000 or more. And they've lost it. What's the town doing about that?
The town can't, I mean, the town is working with the, when, there's nothing that can do about the asset. Town, we cannot save the asset for the community center. Is that fair? I mean, that's a civil issue.
Correct.
It's also the fact that it's not a town entity.
Yes,
That's
right.
the big thing.
What we were asked to intercede on behalf of the community center in a landlord tenant dispute, something that's normally outside our purview. We've been asked, and this is what we've come up with. We've negotiated a deal with the Harbors Point to allow the community center to continue operations in the same building. It won't be theirs, but in the same manner that they have in the last, as they say, 47 years. Is that fair? That sound good?
And Greg, you'll be on tomorrow night, so- right?
All the hard questions go to Greg, but.
Yeah, always. Hunt.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I won't say that.
Don't say it.
The next is. Resident parking, and. I have to confess, I haven't read. The full text yet. That's something you're moving, it seems as if you've got quite a
So,
lot.
and, yeah, and so in general, though, we're removing some of the detail in our general bylaw to make it more flexible so the board can make decisions on an.
And the question you're going to get is, why are you removing parking restrictions from my street?
And the answer is?
The answer is you're not
General.
removing them.
Right.
You're just putting them under the purview of. And probably the parking clerk and the police chief. In making the situation so that. We can make adjustments without having to have the town meeting approve it.
Right, exactly. So because it's in the bylaw, town meeting has to approve any changes to the list of streets. This is a more efficient way of managing that list.
You can act quicker to requests to add resident parking only, rather than always having to wait for a town meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Article 10 is the 2 parking spaces.
Yeah, that's what I said, I'm not gonna die on this hill. And I know we're gonna get pushback on those 2 spaces anyway, but it's an issue to accommodate a public safety issue as Reed's Park and the transient docks become more and more used. It's a safety issue as people traverse. Wow, that's a couple big words there. All right, and so it just makes sense. And because parking has always been tight around town, we want it like just would be a net sum, that's some gain, but that's the whole premise behind this whole thing. Problem with that?
No.
No, I was looking at her.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm reading. I'm reading.
Right. Article 11 is the first of the, community, additions. And I
So,
guess,
again, there may be an opportunity for for either you or the petitioners to move to pass over if Article 8 is successful and people are convinced that that's the better way to go.
I expect there will be people in the audience tomorrow night who want to talk about this.
Yes.
And I think I will let them. I'm going to try very hard to keep this on what does this article mean, rather than
The merits of.
then I think it's a terrible idea.
Mhm.
But I think we have to let the petitioners speak about why they think it's a good idea.
So who, was it the community center themselves with the petitioners?
Was it Morgan, I think Morgan
Who was
Evans
one
did
of-
this one, didn't he?
Well, it was handed in by MCC board member.
And then Alan gets to decide who's gonna, make the motion.
So he'll reach out to MCC, as he's also been in touch with Morgan, who's also been working on this apparently, so.
What's our position? How's this been published in the warrant? Is this we'll make recommendation on the floor?
No,
Or
this is-
this is-
not
you do
We do not recommend.
You do
That's
not
what I thought.
Finance committee didn't recommend that.
Correct.
That's what I thought.
And the planning board, although they voted,
They also voted.
Not to support it. It was a,
Yes, 4-2.
yeah. So, just as they did vote to support the lease. And that was 4 in favor of the lease, 2 not in favor.
Article 12, which we are also not in favor of, is requiring that all zoning changes go to a ballot.
Mhm.
And I think our town council had something to say about that.
Correct. Town council does not believe that the AG's office will approve this if it is approved by the voters. There's case law that says that zoning approval process is set by state statute and local ordinances cannot alter it.
So will town council speak at the meeting then?
Yes. Yes.
Would that then be, have a motion to pass over or,
And it's on the pleasure of the meeting.
no, okay.
You know, just,
But you can't pass over it if we've already started discussion.
yeah, that's true. Alan typically doesn't allow a motion to pass over once a motion to approve it has already been made. So you would have to defeat it. If the motion is made to move it.
I assume that proponents of this will speak and tomorrow. And I will simply say that our town council believes that this will not be passed by the attorney general's office. They,
Yeah.
And-
Let me make sure you have the town council opinion.
okay, good.
I just realized that I don't think I gave that to you.
And awkwardly. the
So just
copy-
on that one, I don't plan to speak on that article tomorrow, but I was a dissenting vote on that, so I would plan to speak on that at town meeting.
You if you haven't been in touch with Alan, and
Okay.
you either speak with him now or come to the Saturday.
Yeah, I was planning on coming
Plan
on
to
the
Zoom-
Saturday
Zoom
one,
on a
but
Saturday.
I'll send him
Yeah.
a note. That's a good idea. Thank you.
That's all Zoom Saturday, right?
Saturdays. all
That's
Saturdays.
what I thought.
And awkwardly, my printer didn't pick up the next two articles.
Because they weren't there.
That's, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
see.
Somehow I think.
Yeah.
So
I
What,
knew that
Article
it-
13?
13 and 14 are the two Powderhouse
That's
Hill.
the Powderhouse,
are-
those are mine, and that also involves council.
Mm-mm.
Or I'm not saying, it is dependent upon what council has said.
That's because
Right,
it
so
wasn't
Article
included in the packet.
Well, my printer
That's
didn't
right.
get it because it wasn't there.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
So
right.
we're trying to, I was trying to save the self-image of your printer. The printer did not fail you. The
It
printer
did not fail you.
you.
No.
This time.
Someone else did.
Brian.
Yes, fine with me.
Okay, the two, John,
Yeah, so,
So town
where do we
council's
stand with
opinion
town
will
council?
be that, you know, well, she can't say with 100% certainty, she can say with 90+% certainty that Powderhouse Hill parcels are already subject to Article 97. The 1977 vote was very clear that it conveyed the care, custody, and management of the property to the Conservation Commission for purposes of conservation. So that, in the state's eyes, makes it subject to Article 97.
All right, so that makes Article 13 moot. Because it in fact is saying, this is what we want to do, that is in fact already the condition that is, that the land is in.
Right, so, the voters may say, well, we want to make sure those i's are double dotted. And we will do this to reaffirm that it's Article 97.
Does the FinCom do they take a position on that? I mean, it's just, if
They didn't take a
it's
position on
something that's already done, what is the expense that the town would incur to do it again?
I don't really think minimal expense.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
you could file a new deed
Mhm.
with that reaffirming vote, but so that the expense of filing a new deed.
So there's no downside to, if they want to do it again.
Correct. There really isn't.
Mhm.
Okay, so if there isn't, well, because I mean,
Well,
we're
the-
making
the-
our recommendation on the floor.
The only downside is you do completely eliminate that fraction of a chance that someone could challenge that is already being dedicated, but it does remove that ambiguity, if ever how slight it is.
so, John, are you suggesting that we might, on time, support that
Yeah,
on time meeting floor?
if that's the case, I would go along with that because that will. I mean, people will understand this is the way things are going anyway, and they will be suspicious. If we say no, and that can create, I don't see a problem saying that.
And if there's no downside, I mean, if it's already done and this is just
Formality.
right, I don't.
Yeah, shall we take a position in support?
Okay, I will make a motion to support Article 13 in favor of conveying the property in the town of Manchester by the Sea to the property of town of Manchester by the Sea with Article 97 in force. In effect, that's what this is.
Second.
Becky?
Yes.
John?
I think she did that intentionally.
Brian? Yes.
You.
Yes.
Yeah, Kathy, yes, Andy, yes, Brian, yes. John, yes.
No, I'm insignificant, but still.
Did you have a copy of council's comment on that or?
I have her short version. I don't have the elongated version.
Okay,
which I
I'll
should
take it.
have.
I don't necessarily need it for tomorrow, but I will need, in case there's some
I
copy in
hope
there
to
that
have
I'd
it
like
for
to have it for
tomorrow.
next
I
week.
might have it now.
That's what my name is.
Get your little, just let her know your initials are BS.
I'm not gonna read, it's right here.
I can't.
Okay,
All right, moving right along.
all right, moving right along.
Cataract surgery, and I still haven't figured out. what-
And it's not like I've ever sat over there and he's ever sat over here.
You want a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, wait, we have one.
We have Article
Oh, we've got
14.
Article 14. All right.
Article 14, which goes a lot steps further and says now they want to convey the property into a charitable trust, which is kind of putting it in a
Let's give it away. then.
chest and throwing away the key.
Yeah.
Giving away land.
That's
No,
an issue. I don't think we're waiting on any, are we waiting on a comment from legal on that? No, okay. All right, I think that, I mean, my opinion is this is overkill.
it's also just because you give it to another organization doesn't mean they
Can't do something with it.
can't do something else.
The
with it.
town
So-
loses their voice. and
Exactly.
control.
I think it's
yeah.
dangerous precedent to
Yeah,
start giving away
yeah,
land.
yeah.
Taking land.
Both.
Yeah, exactly.
Be happy with what we have.
Don't get me.
So,
So it may be that the petitioners alter it slightly by a motion that says to give a conservation easement to, rather than fee simple ownership. That's a variation of a theme here that the petition article itself is a bit ambiguous about that.
That just bothers me, making a decision like that on the floor.
Yeah.
I just,
Right?
without
not
knowing
that I'm
all of the,
opposed or not, I'm just opposed to the amending something like that. You're suggesting they may amend it on the floor and I don't like giving anything away in short notice.
Well, it's, as long as
I
it's
don't
town
know,
property,
just-
we have it protected.
In either case, it would require the unanimous vote of Conservation Commission, a 2/3 vote of voters, and 2/3 vote of both houses of the legislature.
So it's an unnecessary.
And then you have to justify it, and typically they require additional lands to be conserved. You know, in this particular case, I don't know if they would require that, because it's in theory still protecting the land.
Will town council explain all this on the floor?
Yes.
thank you.
So I think we're sufficiently covered. Since we
Yes.
don't know what they may do in the future, we don't have to address that tomorrow night.
So all of that's, so we would pass over that or not recommend?
Not recommended.
Not recommend. Okay, all right. So, that's fine.
Okay, I think we reviewed the articles. Are there significant liaison updates?
Not tonight.
I mean, right now, for Article 14, excuse me, just one
Yes.
second. So in the warrant, it appears we will make a motion on the floor, correct?
No. It
Where does
says
it
that
appear?
you
I can't remember.
You recommend
Oh,
not.
I got a
approval.
note here. All right, so then it stands, oh, I see, I got my note here. So that stands,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Fine, nobody's jumping up and saying,
Not tonight.
right. Approval of the minutes for October 2nd.
There's actually a correction that needs to be made on that. Under liaison updates, Debbie. It was the Downtown Improvement Committee that suggested we speak with the Chamber of Commerce, not the Bike and Ped.
So that reminds me, the meeting is
Is
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning, yes, and I think it would be good if the chief. What is the Chief Fitzgerald gonna attend? Because
I
sometimes he
think I
attends.
heard him say he was gonna be there.
Yeah.
He was gonna be-
I think the kiosk thing would be a good thing to open a discussion on. And perhaps suggest that if he wants to do something, perhaps he could suggest it in a pilot mode as opposed to putting kiosks all over town. I'm sure there's a way to test out his theory in a non-scary way to the businesses. If he had anything like that in mind, that would be a good thing to bring forth.
I may have missed an email. What?
So
Where, this is the this is. the
Chamber of Commerce, yes, the
Where-
Manchester stuff
yes.
is gonna be at 35 Beach, I think. is what they
Right.
said, Right,
It starts at 8:30, is it?
it's really early. on
Eight, I think it's
Wednesday.
8.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
8 AM at 35 Beach.
On
on Wednesday
On
morning.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
We can make it a little bit.
This is off. Topic, but- Great.
Sorry, I brought it up.
I will try.
It just fit in with your comment.
Right.
Yes, it's my
Prompted
comment,
me to-
spiraled out of control. That was on the minutes we were talking about. So
Right.
with that one change in the minutes, I,
Is there a move to approve the
Motion
minutes?
to approve the consent agenda with the one amendment.
second.
Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy. Dan abstains.
Yes.
And now we have the town administrator.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Walker Street, water line work is getting underway. A little bit of a delay. We talked about this a little bit before. So replacing the water main. On Walker, there'll be some new service line for a few homes because currently the water main was behind some homes rather than in front. So that'll be redone. So there'll be some traffic impacts, one lane at a time and some service disruptions, but again, the DPW will be reaching out to households individually and giving them a heads up as to what's happening. So it's just FYI. The compensation study for department leaders, been a little bit of delay there, but we should have that ready for your review and discussion at your next meeting. We have a couple of new strong candidates, I'm pleased to report, for the planner position. We'll be doing those interviews tomorrow. Keep my fingers crossed that we can,
Awesome. That's great.
bring somebody on board, hopefully by the first of the year would be my hope. In the meantime, we have worked with MAPC to provide some interim planner assistance.
So just a question on that. So the article to move the money from an employee account to professional services, how far does that take us? Because if we now hire an employee in January, let's say,
Right, we're only taking 10,000 out.
okay, so you're only just taking a
small
small
amount.
amount. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes. So, yeah, we'll be fine.
Okay. Going in for the same article, next town meeting, reversing it, that's what.
Right, no, hopefully, no, we shouldn't have to do that.
You can speak to that.
And, yeah, lastly, I just, we've, the vast majority of people are very civil and very cogent in their arguments and take personalities out of it. But we do see that slipping sometimes. It takes a toll. It takes a toll on staff. It takes a toll on people wanting to volunteer. And I just want to put it out there as a reminder that disagreement is all part of the democratic process, and I welcome that. I think it leads to stronger decisions in the long run. But I do strongly believe that we can be civil even in our disagreements. So I just a reminder.
Thank you for the reminder.
I welcome and encourage people to engage and express their opinions and do it without disparaging remarks.
Mr. Gates, you have something to add?
I'm sorry. Reverting to the Powerhouse Hill, I think whoever ends up with it should have the responsibility to keep trails clear and to post them so that people walking in the woods don't have to clamber over dead trees that fell and so forth. The way I read that, thinking further about it, it said something about not disturbing any of fallen trees for whatever reason. And I need a cane and I'm not gonna be able to climb over trees and well on the trail. And so I think that should be something that should be kept in the back of your mind.
Well, as long as the town owns that property, that's not a problem. We can make decisions to spend money to maintain things as appropriate. I know that there are a couple of volunteer organizations that do that now, but we're in a position to do that. If that property were to be transferred to another entity, we would not be able to do that.
It should be spelled out.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you all very much.
Thank
It's been a long, hard meeting. And
Good.
The tree
And
got
we
done
have a
faster than I
vote
thought. I'm
That's
done.
because,
You get
that's
good work
because
on the
Greg
trees,
closed
that
with
went
that
faster than
paragraph.
I thought it was gonna be.
Right, see you all tomorrow.